The Immortal Stranger. Starting as a traveling merchant, this video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 276, Mingzhu. Blood Shadow Divine Art. Blood Sword. Could it be referring to Zheng Xiao, the blood sword who sneaked out from Wu'ao Cave? In addition, how is he related to the people of Yunzi? I didn't expect that. Just by coming to the Biu market and pretending to be a master of Zhiyun, I would be related to so many familiar people or forces. What is this? A chance meeting? Fate? Although this feeling of being arranged by someone is not very good, Zhao Chen, who has long been accustomed to it, did not care too much. After all, with his current strength, he is completely unable to resist, so why bother himself? With a sigh, Zhao Chen asked about the detailed information of the little girl's father. Unfortunately, the little girl herself knew very little. She didn't even know what the blood sword represented. She just thought it was a powerful magic weapon. Seeing that he could not get more information, Zhao Chen thought for a while, then he cast a spell, using the Daotian method in the 12 methods of Heartlight, and began to implant some false memories into the girl in green, so that she had the idea of going to Ganzhou to seek refuge with the delusion-breaking female knight Gong Yun. Since Gong Yun's master gave her the task of investigating the 3 cloud crowns, it would be most appropriate to give her the blood god sword line. Zhao Royan, the girl in green, walked out of Xiao Tower absent-mindedly with the translated secret book in her arms. Although everything went very smoothly, and she finally got the profound secret book in the booklet left by her father, she always felt that something was wrong. Forget it, what I should consider now is improving my strength, and then seeking revenge on the Yunzi. Although I have the skills now, I lack the resources to practice. Well, I remember that Gong Yun, the 5th hero among the 7 heroes of the South Desert, is my mother's best friend. Maybe I can go to Yumen to look for her. As she was thinking, she found that the young man named Zhao Fu whom she had met before took the initiative to come forward and talk to her. Miss Zhao, did you gain anything? Zhao Royan covered her chest and looked at him warily and only replied vaguely, it's okay. Zhao Fu also realized that his behavior was too abrupt at this time. He touched the back of his head and said embarrassedly, I'm sorry, Miss Zhao, I didn't want to explore your secrets. I just wanted to. His face flushed red, and he couldn't say anything after thinking for a long time. Seeing him like this, Zhao Royan couldn't help but puff and laughed and relaxed his guard against him a little. Zhao Chen stayed in the Biu market for another day, and then suddenly disappeared in the early morning of the next day, leaving only a farewell letter on the 2nd floor of Xiao Tower. He translated so many Dao text classics, and the secrets he held were coveted by many people. It was okay to stay in the Biu market, because there were magical cultivators suppressing him, but if he left openly, I'm afraid that many people would have bad intentions. And Zhao Chen didn't want to expose his methods, so he could only leave quietly. Fortunately, Master Shen has been in seclusion these days to recuperate, and has no time to be distracted, otherwise it would take a lot of effort. The one who made this sigh was Zhao Chen, who had changed his appearance again. He was in Ningguang City, about 300 miles away from Beifang City. Ningguang, as a metropolis with a population of over 1 million, is much more prosperous than Yumen. As the junction of Shanzhou and Ganzhou, it is also an important railway node leading to Zhanghai, the capital of Ganzhou. Yes, due to the popularity of steam machinery, the states in the prosperous areas of Daxia have long been connected by railways, and even remote areas such as Ganzhou have main line leading to the state capital. The reason why Zhao Chen chose to come to Ningguang to take the train to Zhanghai was to sell a floor, so that those who investigate him in the future would think that they have mastered his trajectory. Of course, he did not dress up as a Zhuanten Taoist at this time, but changed to a new identity. This identity came from Yukun, the elder who passed on the skills of the North Kishan Lion Huanhe who was sold by him. Bandits always have 3 burrows and many fake identities. And this is also misleading, which may interfere with the judgment of those who investigate the details of the Zhuanten Taoist in the future. Woohoo. The steam-powered locomotive emitted a large amount of white smoke with a special aroma, pulling the long steel train on the rails, running at a speed like a galloping horse, not much slower than Zhao Chen's Godspeed spell. Looking at the scenery on both sides quickly receding, as well as the soft seat where he was sitting, and the small table in front of him, Zhao Chen actually felt like he was traveling through time again. Since there was only a little over a month left before the special mission, he did not stay in Ningguang for long, and directly bought a second-class ticket and boarded the steam train called Zhuanlin. The second-class carriage was actually relatively comfortable, with 4 people sitting opposite each other, and a small wooden table in the middle. There would be a dining car passing by at noon, and in the evening. As for the more upscale first-class carriage, it was said to be more luxurious, but tickets were difficult to buy, and it only served the real big shots. Zhao Chen thought that, if he showed his identity as master of Zhuantan or Taoist Evil's lair, he should be able to get a first-class ticket, but that would go against his plan. As for the third-class carriage, it was only a temporary place, provided when the cargo was not fully loaded. There were no seats at all, and it was as crowded as a can. Retracting the thought called nostalgia, Zhao Chen casually glanced at the 3 passengers who were riding with him. Sitting next to him was a mixed-race young man with slightly brown curly hair, thin figure, and dressed in Western clothes. He was wearing a double-breasted black woolen long coat, a bowler hat, and a short cane inlaid with silver in his hand. He looked very decent and cultured. This person called himself Franz Lee, a botanist, who came to Ganzhou to investigate the ecological environment of the desert. Sitting opposite Zhao Chen were 2 women, one wearing a white veil and the other without makeup. The woman wearing a white veil looked only 28 years old, with shoulders like a cut, eyebrows and beautiful eyes. Even the veil could not hide her beautiful face. The other one was much worse than the veiled woman in terms of appearance and clothing, as if she was a maid of the former. But looking at their postures, it was not the case at all. The dominant one among the 2 was the woman with no makeup on. At this time, the mixed-race man named Franz Lee took the initiative to talk to the 2 women opposite. "It is fate that we meet. I wonder if I can have the honor to know your names." Although he looked like a Westerner, he spoke fluent Daksha Mandarin. The plainly dressed woman glanced at him and simply replied, "My surname is Duan, and my name is Duan Mingsu." Chapter 277 France. Duan Mingsu, Zhao Chen, who pretended to look at the scenery, was moved. He was not unfamiliar with this name. After killing Blood Shadow Zhuang Bufan in Black Wind Castle, he searched him for a reply letter from a formation master named Mingsu to the Ma brothers. Even the purple ribbon robe that Zhao Chen was wearing was originally given by the formation master Zhuang Bufan to Ma Guangming. It was just stolen by the female thief Peony on the way and sold to Zhao Chen at the fair. However, Zhao Chen was not sure that the woman sitting opposite was definitely the formation master Mingsu, because in Ma Guangming's memory, Mingsu was also an outstanding puppet master due to the need to set up the formation. Her real body is often hidden in a lifelike human puppet, making it difficult to distinguish. At this time, Zhao Chen did not dare to peek at the other party with his own eye the void, because Ma Guangming's memory clearly told him that Duan Mingsu was a genuine divine power master. It turns out to be Miss Mingsu. "My name is Franz Lee. You can also call me Li Fu. I'm from Sisao in the southwest, and it is an honor to meet a beautiful lady like you." Franz Lee, a man dressed in tight clothes, introduced himself very familiarly. However, his eyes were more focused on the girl with the veil next to him, who was obviously a pervert. But the girl who seemed to be more beautiful than King Guyan ignored him and didn't even look at him. On the contrary, the woman next to her who called herself Duan Mingsu seemed to be interested after hearing the name of Franz Lee. She looked at him carefully for a few times and then said thoughtfully, "Li Fu, I remember that nearly 30 years ago, there was a scandal in the Zhang Li family. The third daughter, Li Fulan, eloped with a supernatural power from the west. Well, it should be called Morning Star Wizard. At that time, the Li family was furious and sent several monks with magical powers to hunt him down, but they returned empty-handed because they were not familiar with the magic of Taixi. And if I remember correctly, the name of the Morning Star Wizard is France, and he is a member of the Tower, the largest wizard organization in Taixi." Hearing her words, France was surprised and curious. He couldn't help but look at the young looking woman in front of him for several times, and then he said with a sigh, "Someone still remembers this old story." As he said that, he nodded to Mingsu and admitted generously, "Miss Duan, you are right. The France who eloped with the legitimate daughter of the Li family is my father, and I took my mother's surname. In Taxi, it is normal for fathers and sons to have the same name." When France said the last sentence, he looked at Zhao Chen, as if explaining to him, "I know this, but you, an illegitimate child, ran back to Ganzhou and didn't hide your identity at all. What are you doing? Are you provoking the Li family?" Zhao Chen complained in his heart, but on the surface he said perfunctorily, "So you are from the Li family. I'm so sorry for your disrespect." He showed an appearance of not daring to listen more and being timid and afraid of things. Speaking of which, Zhao Chen had actually heard about this old news about the Li family. Although most of it was heard from Yan Hongxia as gossip, he also knew that the eldest daughter of the Li family was supposed to marry a son of the Liangzhou Sima family branch, but after the wedding date was agreed upon, they eloped, which made the two families very unhappy in the end. "How can I be considered a member of the Li family?" France laughed at himself first, then changed the subject and said, "But this time I came to Ganzhou, I did want to kowtow to my grandfather on behalf of my mother." Mingsu was silent for a few seconds before she asked, "Is your mother okay?" France looked at Mingsu again, and always felt that there was something wrong with his target of chatting up, but he still replied, "My mother returned to Taxi with my father 5 years ago, and everything is fine now." "That's good." Mingsu nodded slightly, and then began to close her eyes and rest, letting France talk to her without responding. France was in the middle of the situation, and it was difficult for him to notice the strangeness for a while, but Zhao Chen, who had been watching, saw it clearly. Mingsu obviously knew France's mother, Li Fulan, the young lady of the Li family, and they were even close friends, so she looked at France as a junior, and inevitably spoke with a tone of eldership. It was obvious that France wanted to flirt with someone's friend because of her beauty. It would be weird if such a conversation between people who were not on the same channel was not strange. Well, according to Ma Guangming's memory, he and Duan Mingsu knew each other since childhood, and the age difference was not too big. Ma Guangming is nearly 50 years old this year, and Duan Mingsu should be more than 40 years old. When the elopement happened 30 years ago, her age should be about the same as that of the young lady of the Li family. It is normal for them to become friends. However, Duan Mingsu has a close relationship with the Ma brothers. I'm afraid that she came to Ganzhou this time because the news that Ma Guanglian fell into the devil's way spread, so she came to investigate the whole thing. Maybe when the time is right, Ma Guangming can be released and then use her power to find Ma Guanglian's whereabouts. There is no rush for this matter, so let's wait until she finds the 7 heroes of Emonan and understands the situation. Of course, the premise is that this woman is really the formation master Duan Mingsu in Ma Guangming's memory. As his thoughts turned, Zhao Chen no longer paid attention to France, who was still talking about his experiences and trying to attract the attention of the two girls opposite him. He began to contemplate and strengthen his soul. After a whole day's journey, the train finally entered the railway station in Ganzhou Prefecture in the evening. The rumbling train stopped at the platform, and a large number of people poured out of the carriage. Zhao Chen, Duan Mingsu and the other two squeezed out of the station together. After entering the city, they said goodbye to each other and went their separate ways. France wanted to shamelessly invite Mingsu and the other two to stay in the same hotel, but was clearly rejected, and he was embarrassed. After Zhao Chen and France disappeared from sight, the veiled woman spoke for the first time. The appearance of the man surnamed Yu was disguised by a magic weapon, but using the divine sense to investigate would definitely alarm the other party, so I didn't see his true face. Zhao Chen's fake identity came from Yukon, the elder who passed on the skills of the North Kishan Lianhuan village, so naturally his surname was Yu. There is no need. The man surnamed Yu is just a cultivator, and he probably covered his face because he was afraid of being recognized by his enemies. It has nothing to do with us. Duan Mingsu shook her head and said, on the contrary, that France. This man is only 25 years old, but he has already achieved divine power. The veiled woman was silent for a few seconds and replied in a flat voice, "I searched the knowledge base and found the relevant information about France. He joined the Flower God sect since he was a child and is now one of the outer sect deacons of the Flower God sect." Chapter 278 Feeding. On the other side, after being clearly rejected by Mingzhu, Franz Li stared at the backs of the two women unwillingly for a long time, and then picked up his suitcase and found a rented carriage. "Take me to the Nguyen Yang processing plant on the outskirts of the city." He took out a 50-cent note and said, "The Daksha government has only started issuing paper money in recent years, but it is only recognized in the 9 provinces of the Central Plains. In remote areas such as Ganzhou, only the state capital can barely use it. Because the state capital Shanghai has shops and workshops opened by the court to accept this kind of paper money. But even so, it is also disliked due to the inconvenience of exchange." The carriage driver is a middle-aged man in his 40s. He didn't want to accept the official paper money when he saw it, but the price of 50 cents was quite a premium, so after thinking about it, he still did the deal. Soon, the carriage started and traveled through the streets. Franz was sitting in the carriage, admiring the street view, thinking with regret, "The beauty of that woman is the only one I have ever seen in my life. Even the several true disciples of the Flower God sect cannot compare to her. It's a pity that I couldn't ask her name. Hey, if I didn't have a mission, I would definitely use all means to take her down and make her a member of my 100 flowers. But that girl named Mingsu is not simple either. Although I didn't use the charming flower, I also let go of the side effects of this magical power. She was actually indifferent. Maybe I should use the power of the sect to find out. Forget it. If Zhenyang and Xiu Niang knew, they would definitely be jealous." Just as Franz was thinking about it, the carriage had already driven out of the city and arrived in front of a factory where many warm sunwoods were piled up. Franz collected his thoughts, sent the carriage away, and showed his identity token to the factory security. Soon, the person in charge of the factory ran out with a smile on his face and welcomed him into a luxurious office. "Deacon Lee, we have obtained preliminary investigation results on the task assigned by the sect before." After handing over a stack of documents, the person in charge reported respectfully, "Just as the sect elders calculated, the news that the Kyanghe lineage ruins will soon be revealed in Yunzhou first came from Ganzhou. To be more precise, it was Human County." Franz took the documents and glanced at them and said casually, "The sect attaches great importance to the leak of the ruins news this time and asked me to find out the source. Do you have any suspects? If the sect really took it seriously, they would not let you, a playboy from the West, come to investigate." The person in charge complained in his heart, but on the surface he took the initiative to turn a page on the stack of information and introduced, "The most suspicious person is a female monk codenamed Black Cat. She has sold or shared related information in many gatherings in Human. The earliest source we can trace back is her. Is there any specific information about her?" Franz asked. "We secretly captured a cultivator codenamed Shadow. He and the Black Cat have intersections in many gathering circles, so we can roughly judge that the Black Cat's apostrophe cultivation level is above the 3rd level of magic power. He is well informed about all kinds of information, and he is not keen on the practice methods of exercises and innate spells. He is suspected to have a deep background and a complete inheritance." Having said that, the person in charge paused, turned to another page, and continued, "So we suspect that she is either a female cultivator from the Li family or the family of Li's in-laws, or one of the female heroes who became famous in the Human area." Famous female heroes. Franz picked up the page of information with interest and saw that there were more than a dozen names and related information recorded in it, and Yan Hongxia, Gong Yun, Gong Fei, Feng Wan and others were all on the list, but their suspicion level was relatively low. Franz read and thought, then picked up the pen and added another name at the end of the page and ordered, "This person is also suspicious. Find out all her information for me." The person in charge looked at the paper and saw the 3 words Do and Mingsu written crookedly on the paper. After saying goodbye to the 3 temporary travel companions, Zhao Chen went to the best inn near the station, Heifeng Lao, according to the Shanghai guide he had prepared long ago, and ordered a most sumptuous banquet to enjoy it. The banquet was carefully prepared by the chef of Heifeng Lao, and the aroma was fragrant. Among them was a spicy fried clams that was rare in the western regions. The seasoning was fresh, the color and aroma were excellent, and except for the slightly poor ingredients, it was generally satisfactory. In the single room, Zhao Chen was eating happily when he felt a fragrant breeze coming, and then Zheng Qingyan, who was full of heroic spirit and beautiful face, appeared beside him. Heifeng Lao was originally owned by the Zheng family, so Zhao Chen was not surprised that she came to see him so soon. He smiled and said, "You came just in time. Let's eat together." Zheng Qingyan just sat down quietly, then peeled a clam with her own hands, put the clam meat into Zhao Chen's mouth, licked her greasy fingers, and said expressionlessly, "It's not very fresh, let's forget it. It's good to be able to eat seafood in the western regions. If you want it to be fresh, you must use the time magic to keep it in its state, or use the space magic to directly teleport it here. The cost is too high. In addition, Qingyan, do you know that your current appearance is quite tempting? Aren't you afraid that I can't control myself?" Watching Zheng Qingyan licking her fingers, Zhao Chen swallowed his saliva and said without much thought, "Once the matter of Wu'aiao cave is completely resolved, you can import seafood from there and sell it in the western regions. After all, Wu'aiao mountain is not far from the sea. The next mission is still 1 month away. Now there are only more than 3 weeks." Zheng Qingyan replied simply with a smile in her eyes. Then she peeled the clam meat for Zhao Chen again and said lightly, "Chu Yuan returned to Zhangai a day before you and has reported to Li Yunfeng about Master Ji Wen's Zuantan. So as long as you show your sign in Zhangai, I'm afraid it won't be long before he will come to you and introduce you to the young master of the Li family. Is that young master Li so anxious? He's not even asking around?" Zhao Chen asked in surprise. At the same time, he opened his mouth and accepted Qingyan's feeding. "Because he offended me before, the remnants of the Xingyang temple were found among the retainers, and someone was hired to assassinate you. Li Yunfeng's current situation is actually very bad, and he urgently needs achievements to consolidate his position. After all, his biggest backer, the head of the Li family, Li Fuchen, has been missing to this day, and many clansmen suspect that he is in collusion with the god of evil. And if the Dao text in the family's fundamental practice can be unlocked, allowing the Li family to master the real 5 emperors paying homage to the truth great magical power, it will definitely be a great achievement." This time, Zheng Qingyan just took the paper and wiped her hands and did not continue to seduce Zhao Chen. After all, if something really happened, although she didn't mind much, she couldn't explain to the Zheng family, which would be bad for Zhao Chen. Chapter 279, Flame Dragon Divine Fire Sword. In the Ganzhou Prefecture, in a house in the Cheyenne blessed land of the Li family, a young man without a crown was pinching his sword gestures, letting the black sword energy fly all over the sky, practicing the Black Emperor blood sword technique handed down by the Li family. However, this set of agile sword techniques, which is known as contains wonderful transformation and profound, was practiced by him in a big way, with blood and dust everywhere, as if people were on a battlefield. Although this cannot be said to be bad, it has lost the original meaning of this set of sword techniques. After a moment, the young man retracted his sword gestures, and the black sword light instantly dissipated, leaving only a strong smell of blood in the air. "Young master, Chu Yuan wants to see you." At this time, a maid with a good appearance reported while bringing tea. The young man took the teacup and took a sip, then frowned and said, "Chu Yuan? I remember that his son disappeared inexplicably before, so he asked for leave to go and investigate. Did he find him?" "As far as I know, he didn't find him," the pretty maid replied. "Can't find it? Are you asking me for help?" The young master hesitated for a while and finally took out a jade pendant and handed it to another maid standing next to him and ordered, "Take my seal and bring Chu Yuan into the blessed land. Use visitor privileges." "Yes," the maid responded, then took the jade pendant and walked out of the yard. After doing all this, the young master returned to the main hall and sat down. Then he looked at the good-looking maid next to him and asked, "Zhao Chen, the last time we received a letter from Yiqing, it said that Zhao Chen and Yan Hangsha destroyed the Wu'aiao Valley market. Is there any follow-up news?" The maid named Zhao Chen nodded, took out a letter from her sleeve and said, Zhao Chen and Yan Hangsha have returned to human, and the Wuya Valley market has also been rebuilt under the leadership of Master Zeduo. But what? The young master snatched the letter, glanced at it for a few seconds, and then he became furious. Is Zeduo Han going to rebel because I've lost power? He actually dared to openly snatch the share that I decided to distribute to the head of the Sun family and Liu Gangfeng. Who gave him the courage? Zhao Chen hurriedly knelt down and said repeatedly, Master, calm down. How can I not be angry? Exclamation mark. Ever since I was confined, and that bitch Danju bewitched 7 light magic banner Yang Zicheng and Ice and Snow Cold Blade Feng Sheng to run away, my subordinates have been uneasy. If I allow Zeduo Han to be so presumptuous, how can I convince them? The young master took a deep breath and said angrily, Young master, Zeduo Han is a master of the 8th level of magic power. It is not appropriate to punish him before he shows any intention of rebellion, otherwise it will force him to leave. Besides, among the people under your command now, except for Oldling, there is no one who can definitely defeat him. The maid Xianchen advised bitterly. Oldling is the magical guard assigned to him by the young master's grandfather, but he will not take action unless the young master himself is in mortal danger. Hey, it's all because of Zhao Chen and Zheng Qingan. Otherwise why would I end up like this? Sooner or later, I will catch this adulterer and adulteress and torture them. The young master, that is, Li Yunfeng gritted his teeth for a long time before he lost his temper and turned to Zhao Chen and asked, how am I inferior to Zhao Chen? In my eyes, Zhao Chen is not as good as you. It's the girl from the Zheng family who is short-sighted. Zhao Chen said sincerely. My Zhao Chen still speaks better. Li Yunfeng hugged his maid into his arms and laughed. At this time, Chu Yuan happened to enter the main hall under the guidance of another maid. Seeing Master Yunfeng who was having fun in front of him, Chu Yuan frowned unconsciously. Since he has the reputation of Feng Yi Qi Qiu, even if he is pretending, he still can't stand the appearance of this daytime debauchery, so he directly advised, Master, it's just a temporary adversity, you must not indulge in pleasure because of it. Upon hearing this, Zhao Chen blushed and quickly broke away from Li Yunfeng's arms, escaping to make tea for Mr. Chu. Although Li Yunfeng felt a little disappointed, he always did a good job on the surface and immediately humbly accepted the advice. Mr. Chu is right, it was Yunfeng Menglang. After the two of them exchanged a few polite words, Li Yunfeng asked the main question, Sir, do you want me to ask a master of supernatural powers to rescue your son? No, I came here this time to give you a gift, young master. Chu Yuan stroked his beard and smiled, and emphasized, a big gift that can help you get rid of your current predicament. He knew that with Li Yunfeng's current state, it would be difficult to mobilize the supernatural masters, so he did not mention the matter of rescuing his son, but only said that he came to give a gift. When Li Yunfeng really has great achievements and gains power again, he will definitely take the initiative to repay him, and then asking the supernatural masters to help will not be a problem. Oh, what gift? Li Yunfeng's eyes lit up, and he was obviously very interested. In other words, he was eager to restore his status in the Li family. This great gift is a master of interpretation who calls himself Zuanten Taoist, Zhang. In a private room of Heifeng Tower, Zheng Qingan looked at Zhao Chen, who was full of food and wine and looked satisfied, and said carefully, you mean, you want me to go to the Jinbio martial arts school in Yumen, to help you maintain order, lest some villain come and try to expose the fact that you are not in Yumen? Zhao Chen smacked his lips, savoring the wonderful taste just now, and said with a smile, yes, and this will also allow you to avoid suspicion if the Li family really finds out that the family's skills have been leaked later. Okay, I just happened to go meet the little black cat in your house. Zheng Qingan snorted expressionlessly and said, by the way, the Yunxiao crown in Li Yunfeng's hand is not in the Cheyenne blessed land. If you want to get it, now is the best time. Hearing this, Zhao Chen's face showed joy, and he asked hurriedly, who has it now? As for the Cloud Crown, Zhao Chen naturally had a corresponding plan to steal it, but since it involved a blessed land, there were still too many variables and the success rate was difficult to guarantee. But now that it has left the shy and blessed land, it is relatively easier to obtain it. In the hands of a master who has recently defected to Li Yunfeng, Han Yu, who was formerly ranked 11th on the human outstanding people list, and is now ranked 10th, and has the flame dragon divine fire sword. Zheng Qingyuan wiped the grease from her lips with a handkerchief and responded calmly. Li Yunfeng has reached this point now, and there are still people who are willing to join him? Zhao Chen asked in surprise. He had also heard of Han Yu, who was a real casual cultivator, and had a good relationship with the fortune-bringing goddess Gongfei. With the help of the latter's vision, he had made great gains with small investments many times, and once obtained a martial arts technique at the Gangsha realm in an adventure, which led to his current position. The technique was called Flame Dragon Divine Fire Sword Technique, which was the thank you gift that Gong Yun gave to Zhao Chen in Ulu Villa. From this point of view, Han Yu's current achievements are probably related to a certain mission that his little black cat had completed in the past. Giving timely assistance is also the essence of investment. Isn't there a good return immediately? Chapter 280 Treasure Hunt. Where is Han Yu, the Flame Dragon Divine Fire Sword? Now, Zhao Chen had decided to take action immediately to snatch the Cloud Crown back. With the precedent of the Star River Ghost Scale Lamp, he felt that imitations might sometimes be more useful than the original. It's in a house near the Li Mansion. Although the Li Mansion in the city is only an entrance to the Li family's shy and blessed land, there are still supernatural powers worshippers sitting in charge. Zheng Qingyuan paused and added, well, it should be just low-grade supernatural powers. After all, if the middle and upper grade supernatural powers do not have a mission, they must be in the blessed land to comprehend the mysteries of the laws of heaven and earth. Of course, the low grade that Zheng Qingyuan mentioned is different from the general classification and refers to the 5th grade and below. Zhao Chen nodded, indicating that he understood and would take action tonight. Although Han Yu lent the Cloud Crown for his enlightenment, there must be supernatural power monks secretly watching him. Otherwise, what if he escapes with the treasure? If Han Yu was not qualified to enter the blessed land, and the Yangxiu crown was Li Yunfeng's personal property, such a magic weapon would not be easily brought to the outside world. Zheng Qingyuan's expression did not change. She was not surprised that Zhao Chen was going to take action so quickly. She only nodded slightly and asked, do you need my help? If I take action alone, there is no need to worry, even if there are experts who make calculations afterwards. But if you join in, if there are flaws, it will be hard to explain. Zhao Chen shook his head gently. Zheng Qingyuan looked at him expressionlessly and asked back, are you looking down on my 9 yaoi of celestial phenomena? How dare I look down on the 2nd grade magical power? But the Li family does have the Dunksa and real person. Zhao Chen knew that Qingyuan, or Femeng, was just acting, and was not really angry, so he cooperated with her and coaxed her. And if you are suspected, I may also be implicated, right? As the original key Femeng, she might not be afraid of calculations, but this almost completely independent incarnation might not be. Then I will also be there to provide support, just in case. Zheng Qingyuan insisted with a serious face. She was worried about her lover, but unwilling to say it out loud. Seeing this, Zhao Chen took advantage of the situation and put his arm around her waist, smiling and saying, okay. In a house near the Li Mansion, Han Yu took off the crown he had borrowed from Master Yunfeng with some annoyance, held it in his hand, and looked at it repeatedly for a long time, then put it aside, sighing silently. Why can't I comprehend the secret of divine power with this crown? Am I really not destined to have it? No. I, Han Yu, was born as a casual cultivator, and I can now be ranked in the top 10 of the human outstanding people list. Of course, I have good luck. How could I not have a chance to have a treasure? It must be the lack of a key condition that prevents me from obtaining the mystery of the magical power. If only Sister Gong were here, she would definitely help me point out the fallacies. It's a pity that she has been away for a few weeks and has not returned. After a while of regret, Han Yu was ready to put the Cloud Crown back into the box full of seals, ready to wait until sunrise tomorrow to comprehend it. But at this moment, he suddenly realized something was wrong, because it was too quiet outside the house. You know, Shanghai, the provincial capital, is a famous city that never sleeps in Ganzhou, and there are many markets open even at night. Oh no, we've fallen into the formation. Who can set up the formation so quietly under the nose of the Li family? Han Yu became more and more panicked as he thought about it. He quickly gave up the idea of putting the Yunxiao crown back into the seal and put it on his head instead. The Yunxiao crown is a magic weapon after all. Even if Han Yu cannot exert its power, just wearing it can increase his own strength. At the same time, he drew out his long sword, and a fire dragon rushed into the sky like a pillar of fire, circling up, and broke through the roof. The fire dragon had distinct scales and horns, and was lifelike, even with some magical power and pressure, like an emperor. This is exactly the Yang spell Red Jade Dragon Emperor Sword in the Flame Dragon Divine Fire Sword art. It was blessed by the Yunxiao crown, and had some magical powers. Han Yu wanted to use this sword to temporarily break the formation that trapped him, so that the Li family cultivators could notice the abnormality on his side. However, the fire dragon disappeared without a trace after breaking through the roof, and did not even cause any waves. A formation at the level of magical powers? Han Yu's face became more and more ugly, and at this time, bursts of black fog slowly spread in from outside the room, freezing cold and extremely ominous. What the hell is this thing? It seems to be able to refine my spiritual consciousness. No, my magic power, soul, and body seem to be not immune, and are all being eroded and refined by this black fog. After feeling the black fog that surrounded him, Han Yu was suddenly shocked. He knew that he could not let this formation refine him. He immediately merged his body with the sword, and turned into a fire dragon, setting off a sea of fire in the void, and letting the whole house burn. But it was still useless. As long as the flames encountered the black air, they would gradually dim and cool, until they were completely extinguished. As the fog became thicker, the fire dragon could no longer maintain itself, and Han Yu's figure appeared. Just when he was about to be forced into a desperate situation by the erosion of the black fog, and was about to make a desperate move, he heard an ethereal voice. "Hand over the crown and I will spare your life. Hand over the crown and I will spare my life." It turned out that the enemy was coming for the Yunxiao crown. Han Yu's heart moved, and he immediately gave up the idea of fighting to the death. After all, the Yunxiao crown was an external object. How could it be as important as his own life? How can I guarantee that what you said is true? Han Yu once again released a fire dragon to protect his body, delaying the erosion, and asked loudly, "You can choose not to believe it. Anyway, it's just a little more effort for me." The man from before spoke again. But perhaps because of the imminent success, the person behind the scenes was a little smug, and although the voice this time was still ethereal, it had a slight accent. Han Yu narrowed his eyes and memorized the characteristics. Then he looked at the flame dragon who was retreating step by step in the black mist, gritted his teeth, took off the cloud crown on his head, and threw it away. After a few seconds, the black gas completely dissipated, as if it had never appeared, and the cold moonlight shone in through the hole in the roof that was broken by the flame dragon. It was not until this time that an old figure arrived in an instant, landed in front of Han Yu, and shouted, "What happened here? Mr. Ling, why did you come just now?" The cloud crown was hijacked. Han Yu had a sad face. While reporting, he pushed the responsibility onto Elder Ling's late arrival. The old man didn't have time to care about these things at the moment. He scanned with his spiritual sense and soon found a clue to layers of formations. The outer layer conceals the magic fluctuations, and the inner layer is a powerful magic formation. There seems to be some residual materials for the inner formation. Is this some kind of formation of the Yin Demon sect? Kevin, it's a bit late. Chapter 281. Zhao Chen appears at the end. Looking at the traces of the formation, Ling Lao's face was full of gloom. He had guessed the bandits' method at this time. It was nothing more than covering the house with a formation of divine power level, and then setting up some kind of Yin Demon formation inside, to forcibly refine Han Yu and force him to hand over the Yunxiao crown. He was clearly close at hand, but he didn't find out that something was wrong until the bandit removed the formation. This is slapping himself in the face. As his thoughts turned, Ling Lao's eyes stared at Han Yu and said coldly, "Tell me everything that happened. Don't miss anything." Han Yu was a little scared by his look. He knew that the divine monk in front of him was already in a state of rage, so he didn't dare to be clever anymore. He repeated what had just happened in detail, only using vague words on the issue of handing over the Yunxiao crown. It sounded more like he had no strength and was forcibly taken away by the other party. Eldling listened carefully, thought for a moment, and then spoke again. You said that the bandit had an accent when he spoke the second time. Can you reproduce it? You should have learned the corresponding spells, right? Although no one has condensed spells like recording and videography into life spells like cleaning and water extraction, most people will learn a few for the convenience of life. After all, these spells do not need to be cast by chanting, nor do they need to increase in power as the magic power increases. Hanyu nodded, then pinched his fingers and chanted the spell, stepped on the magic step, and performed the recording technique he had learned not very skillfully, and reproduced the sentence. You can choose not to believe it. Anyway, I just spent more effort. Eldling narrowed his eyes and immediately made a judgment in his mind. He put away the lost formation materials, then cast a spell to repair the roof destroyed by the flame dragon. Then he looked at Hanyu and said sternly, don't go anywhere these days. Just think that the Yunxiao crown is still there, and you are still comprehending. Do you understand? Hanyu was stunned at first, then understood in seconds, and nodded obediently. Elderling, I understand, don't worry. The loss of magic weapon, even if it belongs to Li Yunfeng personally, will inevitably reduce the evaluation of this young man in the eyes of the elders of the Li family. Therefore, as Li Yunfeng's protector, Elderling chose to temporarily suppress the matter at the first time. Of course, this is also because the Yunxiao crown was lost under Elderling's nose. Moreover, this old man must have found clues about the thief just now and wanted to regain his face. Hanyu guessed in his heart. However, he also felt a hidden danger at this time. It would be fine if the old man could find the Yunxiao crown, but if the treasure was really lost, he would be the scapegoat and the punching bag. No, I have to find a chance to escape from Ganzhou. Hanyu looked at the back of Ling Leo flying away, his face expressionless, but he was thinking of escaping. After leaving Hanyu's house, Ling Leo went straight back to Li Mansion and immediately applied to enter Cheyenne Blessed Land. Seeing this, Ruan Feng, another supernatural cultivator who stayed in Li Mansion, asked strangely, Oldling, you just left in a hurry, and now you are applying to enter the Blessed Land. Is there something wrong with Master Yunfeng again? Li Yunfeng caused trouble several times in a row within a month, and even Ling Leo was implicated. They, as the foreign supernatural powers worshipped by the Li family, have heard about it. It's not that the young master has something to do, but I have some urgent matters to leave the state government temporarily, so I have to go to the Blessed Land to take over. Ling Leo answered vaguely. As Li Yunfeng's guard, he cannot leave his post without permission. It seems that something has really happened to young Master Yunfeng. Is he trying to solve it in advance this time? Ruan Feng smiled when he heard this, but did not expose him. He only said meaningfully, Oldling, you have worked hard. Ling Leo also knew that he could not hide it from Ruan Feng, who also had supernatural powers. Fortunately, the other party was not a gossip and remained neutral among the young masters. Since it was an application from a supernatural cultivator, the procedures for entering the Blessed Land were quickly approved. Ling Leo did not exchange more greetings with Ruan Feng and directly crossed the gate of the Blessed Land. The moment he entered, he felt a fairy consciousness sweeping over his body. It was the earth spirit of this Blessed Land checking whether there were any evil things mixed in. Ling Leo accepted the inspection calmly, and then came to Li Yunfeng's house as quickly as possible to report the matter to him. And that Master Yunfeng was already very annoyed when he was forcibly interrupted when he was completing the great harmony of life with his maid Zhao Chen. He was even more furious when he heard the news that the Yunxiao crown was stolen. With a snap, he smashed the jade cup in his hand and said hatefully, waste. Hanyu, that waste. How could such a treasure be lost near my Li family's mansion? It's really embarrassing for me. After that, he cursed more and more harshly. Hearing this, Eldling's eyebrows jumped, and he always felt that his young master was making innuendos, but he still interrupted the other party's cursing. Young master, I have suppressed this matter temporarily, and outsiders are not aware of it. In addition, I have some clues. Li Yunfeng stopped cursing and asked, what clues? I suspect that the one who did this was Zhuo Hong, the one key sword of Sand Mountain. Eldling said in a deep voice. Zhuo Hong? No way. He dared to do this? Li Yunfeng was a little unconvinced, even though the other party had been very domineering recently and had a tendency to break away from him. First, although my divination ability is only of the 7th rank, I can be sure that the remaining materials for the formation came from Sand Mountain. Although it may also have flowed out from the Wuiao Valley market, it at least shows that Zhuo Hong is indeed a suspect. Second, based on Ha News recording, I'm 70% sure that the complacent words came from Zhuo Hong. After all, I have also dealt with him a lot with the young master, and I can recognize his voice. Third, you should know the true origin of Zhuo Hong. He has always had an unusual obsession with the Yangxiao crown. So I think his motive for committing the crime is the greatest. Oldling explained his point of view in a clear and orderly manner. And the more Li Yunfeng listened, the more he felt that this was the case, and finally gritted his teeth and said, "How dare you, a rat, bully me?" After saying this, the young master was about to order people to go directly to Sand Mountain in Yichun to destroy the Gyuan Sword sect and bring Zhuo Hong back. But he was stopped by Oldling, who said earnestly, "Young master, the Gyuan Sword sect is just a small matter. If you go to destroy it with great fanfare, it will make people laugh at you. And it is also easy to alert the enemy. What we should do now is to find Zhuo Hong and take back the Yangxiao crown. And once Zhuo Hong is arrested, that sect can be destroyed easily." Li Yunfeng finally calmed down after hearing this, frowned and asked, "Then how can we find him? He must have hidden himself after doing something like this. So, I ask the young master to give me the authority to call upon the power of the Cheyenne treasure mirror." Oldling said solemnly, "The Cheyenne treasure mirror is one of the 7 treasures of the Cheyenne blessed land. It can greatly enhance the ability of calculation, but it is only effective for those below the Dangxian level." In the big sun star chariot, Zhao Chen, sitting on the 6th dragon throne, played with the cloud crown he had just obtained, with a look of surprise on his face. Chapter 282 Cheyenne treasure mirror. Yangxiao crown, as a magic weapon made by intercepting the power of Yangxiao golden crow crown and Wuiao cave heaven, has extremely powerful power, which is mainly reflected in 3 aspects. First, as recorded in the notes of Uniying sect, this crown can grant the wearer a 5th grade position, but the conditions are harsh and the price is quite shocking. First of all, the conditions must be that the cultivators who practice the 3 major magic sects and their derivatives can get the relevant ritual information from the crown after the gangsha is perfected, and the cultivation methods are different, the grades of supernatural powers to be condensed are different, and the required rituals are also different. And if you want to receive the crown, you must complete the corresponding ceremony. Of course, this is not unique to the crown. According to King Gaian, the 5th grade and above positions in this world basically require rituals. Even the ancestors' positions of the aristocratic families and the upper sects are no exception, but the difficulty is different. In other words, the reason why the crown can grant the talisman is because it intercepted the origin of the worry-free cave heaven during the refining process. It only serves as a medium to grant the talisman on behalf of heaven. This kind of magic weapon is often the treasure of the sect. After all, compared with other gangsha perfection monks who don't know what heaven wants and can only try their luck and look for opportunities, the value of this kind of item that can tell you the specific mission is self-evident. As for the price of obtaining this 5th grade talisman, after death, the soul will be permanently imprisoned and enslaved, unable to be liberated, unable to be reborn, and become the nutrient of this treasure. It is no wonder that Ma Guanglian disdained this magic weapon. In addition to the fact that he may have a similar one in his hand, it is estimated that he is unwilling to become a part of this treasure in the future. Secondly, when a monk wears the cloud crown, as long as he pays the corresponding price, he can enhance the power of his own magic. If it is a spell from the demon sect or the star chap, it can even be upgraded to the level of the 7th or 8th grade magical power under extreme circumstances, which is not inferior to the effect of the 4th grade magical power Yangsha golden pill of the cloud shadow sect. Of course, using this function still cannot avoid the word price. This ability actually requires the cultivator's own luck. Fortunately, after a simple experiment, I found that star coins can be used to replace luck. This made me think about what the essence of star coins is. A person's treasures, knowledge, identity and strength are all part of luck, but they can all be exchanged for star coins. Of course, even if star coins can be used to replace luck, if I want to upgrade the spells I currently master to the level of magical powers, the consumption required is also extremely amazing. With my balance, it won't last long. It's better to directly exchange one Dairi Xingcha or use the purple light ring to borrow the power of magical powers. However, I also thought of a trick, which is to use the false position obtained from the Cave Heaven Fighting Conference to increase the power of my spells, and then use the Cloud Crown to superimpose the effect. But since the false position has been sold to Xingcha by me, I have to exchange it if I want to use it, which also costs money and won't save much. Finally, as I thought before, the Cloud Crown is a replica of the Cloud Golden Crow Crown, does have similar functions to the original. It can temporarily increase my authority over the recovered accessories in the Star Chap, just like when I approached the Cloud Golden Crow Crown in the worry-free Cave Heaven. The power of the Demon Sealing Red Pen was demonstrated in reality, and the 16 Golden Stars Libra Sword could notarize more types of transactions. But there are only 3 such opportunities for improvement. Each time, a soul enslaved by the Cloud Crown will be consumed, which is the 3 magical powers in the history of the Cloud Shadow sect. Sitting on the 6th dragon throne, Zhao Chen played with the unclear crown in his hand, and felt deeply that the evil nature hidden in this thing was extraordinary, and it was worthy of being a magic weapon created by the demon sect. Then, he put the unclear crown on his head, and used the first opportunity to increase his authority without hesitation. And he gave this opportunity to the 8 trigrams bright light mirror. Before this, the 8 trigrams bright light mirror could only passively detect the Star Chariot accessories within a certain range and block others' calculations. But after the authority was increased, Zhao Chen clearly felt that the connection between himself and this bronze mirror had been strengthened, and he could actively calculate or block some things. Zhao Chen did not choose to calculate, but stretched out his hand and pointed at the 8 trigrams bright light mirror, allowing it to emit a black and white light that wrapped around the unclear crown, completely obscuring its existence. In this way, even if a Dangshan monk calculated it personally, it would be difficult to find its whereabouts. Zhao Chen did not think it was a waste. After all, he originally planned to sell the unclear crown directly to Xingcha to avoid the calculation. Now, he can save a lot of difference between the sale and the purchase. And when he gets the genuine unclear Golden Crow Crown back in a month, there may be more than 3 opportunities to temporarily upgrade the authority. After doing this, Zhao Chen's consciousness left Xingcha and returned to reality. In Cheyenne Blessed Land, although it was extremely painful, in order to maintain his precarious position and not let his elders down again, Li Yunfeng gritted his teeth and agreed to Ling Lao's proposal, took out his own resources, and applied for the use of the Cheyenne treasure mirror. As the contributions accumulated by this young man over the years disappeared, a mirror with sparkling water appeared in the room. The mirror exuded a misty light, and soon formed a line of text. You have 1 chance to ask a question, and the questioner must complete a task. After getting the answer, I have already paid the contribution points. Why do I have to complete the task? Li Yunfeng frowned. This was also his first time using the Cheyenne treasure mirror, and he didn't know much about it before. He originally wanted to ask about Zeduo Hang's whereabouts himself, but now it seems that he has to change his mind. After all, he is still under house arrest and can't complete the task at all. Contribution points are just the price of summoning me out. A line of text appeared again on the shimmering mirror surface. Seeing this, Li Yunfeng sighed helplessly and said to Elderling beside him, "Then please ask Elderling." Elderling nodded, then took a deep breath and asked a question that had nothing to do with the unclear treasure crown, which stunned Li Yunfeng. "Who killed my son?" "Elderling, you." Li Yunfeng's face changed. At this time, how could he not think that the family worshipper in front of him deliberately guided him just to ask questions to the Cheyenne treasure mirror? Even the loss of the unclear treasure crown may be intentional by the other party. Chapter 283, Flower Mystery Teachings. Elderling was indeed waiting for this moment. From the moment he became the Li family's worshipper, he had been patiently waiting for the opportunity to ask the Cheyenne treasure mirror and get the answer he had been wanting for 5 years. Through indirect understanding, he even knew more about the Cheyenne treasure mirror than Li Yunfeng himself, and knew that this treasure, which was manifested by the origin of the blessed land, would assign a task to the questioner after answering the question. And when Li Yunfeng, who was under house arrest, felt that he could not complete the task, there was a high probability that he would give him the right to ask questions. Therefore, after being designated as the guard of this young master, he did not dissuade the other party from his misbehavior at all, just to make him make a big mistake and be confined by the family. However, there was one thing that Li Yunfeng wronged him, that is, he really did not find out that the young Xiao treasure crown was robbed before, but the subsequent anger and a series of reasoning were all his deliberate performances. And now he is finally going to get what he wants. Mr. Yunfeng, I'm sorry. This issue is very important to me, and I had no choice but to do this. Old Ling bowed to Li Yunfeng apologetically and added solemnly, please rest assured that I will handle the matters of Zhuo Hong and Guiyuan Sword Sect later, and will not let you lose face. In addition, if I'm still alive after taking revenge, I will try my best to help you kill that Zhao Chen. Hearing this, Li Yunfeng looked uncertain and was about to say something. Then he saw the mirror emitting a hazy light again, but the scene inside began to become clear, revealing the figure of a giant man in golden armor. Under the image of the giant, there was a line of text, Huang San, a yellow turban warrior under the command of the Wei County Lord. Eldling stared at the image and text in the mirror and said to himself in a cold voice, the yellow turban warrior under the command of the Wei County Lord? It turns out that my son died at the hands of that crazy county lord. But, very good. Li Yunfeng was dumbfounded when he saw this and blurted out, Elderling, you won't offend the county lord, will you? Elderling didn't say anything, but turned his head and looked at Li Yunfeng, who suddenly felt dizzy and then fainted. I have to say sorry again, young master. Before I take revenge, I have to keep it secret. So please forget what happened today. With a slight sigh, Elderling used his magical powers to temporarily block Li Yunfeng's memory. At this time, a line of text appeared on the mirror again. I have answered the question. According to the rules, you have to complete a task, otherwise you will have to pay 80% of your luck. Seeing the text in the mirror, Ling Lao took a deep breath and said solemnly, please give the specific content of the task. From the information he had obtained from indirect sources before, the Cheyenne treasure mirror would not arrange very dangerous tasks, but they were extremely difficult to complete. He didn't know what kind of tasks they were, but he only knew that everyone who had completed the tasks was very secretive about it. Just as his thoughts were in a mess, a line of text appeared on the shimmering mirror. 3 days later, at the dock of Human County City, take off this person's pants in public. Below the text, an image of a young man dressed in Western clothes appeared. Seeing the content of the task, Ling Lao was stunned. He couldn't believe that the origin of the Cheyenne blessed land, based on holy virtue, would give such a mean and despicable task. Not only do I, an old man, have to take off the pants of a young man, but I have to do it in public? What a wicked task. After the destruction of this Cheyenne blessed land, even its origin changed from holy virtue to immoral! Exclamation mark. No wonder those who have completed the task in the past are so secretive about it. How can I say it with my face? At this moment, Ling Lao felt that the extreme grief and anger in his heart had been diluted a lot. No matter how shameful it is, the task must be completed. Otherwise, once the fate is taken away, I will be unable to move forward, and it will be a big deal if I delay my revenge. 3 days. It's just right to go to San Mountain in Yicheng to sweep the Guiyuan Sword Sect and help you deal with Zhuo Hong's forces, and then turn to Human. After that, while hunting Zhuo Hong, investigate the whereabouts of the Wei County Lord. After making up his mind, Ling Lao expressed his willingness to complete the task to the Cheyenne treasure mirror, and after the other party's phantom completely disappeared, he woke up the sleeping Li Yunfeng. Young master, since you have asked about Zhuo Hong's whereabouts, I will track him down now. Ling Lao fooled without changing his face. Li Yunfeng shook his still confused head and remembered that, after asking the Cheyenne treasure mirror, he got the answer that Zeduo Hangsheng fled to Human, so he nodded and said, "Then I'll trouble Elderling." As he said that, he slapped his forehead and added, "By the way, I will send a telegram to order my people in Yichen to deal with the Gyuan Sword Sect. When Elderling passes by San Mountain, can you help them?" "Yes, sir." In the Nuanang factory on the outskirts of the state capital, Fransley, who was wearing a double-breasted black woolen coat and a bowler hat, casually flipped through the newly collected intelligence from various places and couldn't help frowning. "That's all? Where is the information I want about Du and Mingsu? What does the Sects mission have to do with the cultivator named Mingsu? Why did they send a playboy here?" The person in charge of the factory was dissatisfied, but he dared not show it on the surface. He could only lower his head and respectfully responded, "The heroine you are looking for does not seem to be from Ganzhou. Our people haven't found her yet. Don't emphasize the difficulties to me. I just want the results." Franz waved his hand. "I will contact the suspects on your previous list of heroines and socialites in the next few days. If there is no news about Mingsu, when I come back next week." Humph. After a cold snort, the deacon of the flower god sect stood up and pushed the door open. After a long time, when he was sure that Franz had gone far away, the person in charge's face became ugly, and then he sneered and said to himself silently, "What are you so proud of?" Since ancient times, male cultivators with magical powers who practiced the secret scripture of the flower god either became flower fairies or became flower fertilizers. Whichever one, I'm afraid you have to. Don't you know that the high-level leaders of the sect are all female cultivators? Oh, I was overthinking. How could this playboy achieve Dongsun? It's his good fortune that he can condense his magical power. The factory manager shook his head. Although he was exiled to a remote place like Ganzhou, he was from a famous family and knew more about the secrets of the flower god sect than Franz, the outer sect deacon. In the Sea Breeze Tower, Zhao Chen, who had transformed into the appearance of Zhuan Taoist, once again revealed his identity as Ji Wenqi. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 284, 12 Methods of Heartlight. Zhangai, the capital of the state, was named after the meaning of Zhangguo's arm and elbow, to connect to the western regions. In ancient times, it was a vital throat. Even though the hundreds of countries in the western regions have now turned into endless deserts and the trade routes have been cut off, it is still connected to Beating in the north and the plateau in the south, and is an important transportation hub in the northwest of Daxia. As the capital of Ganzhou, Zhangai City now has a permanent population of nearly 2 million, making it the undisputed first metropolis in the northwest. In addition to the 4 suburbs in the east, west, south, and north, and the newly established factory area on the edge of Xi'an, there are currently 6 main areas in Zhangai City, namely Liyuan District, Danil District, Gao's District, Lintei District, Shangtai District and Zhate District. Among them, Gao's district is connected to Liyuan district and Danil district in the north. It is a gathering place for monks, which means Ganzhou's Gaos gathers here. There are many market towns here, and all kinds of shops related to cultivation are everywhere. Even the Daoguan office and the 6 Gate Xiamen are set up in this area. At this time, Zhao Chen set up a small stall in a market town in Gao's district. Although the name of Zhuan Taoist was quite famous in the Biao market at that time, Ganzhou obviously did not recognize it, and naturally did not receive the treatment in Xiao Tower. This stall is not big, with only a table and a chair. There are some 4 treasures of the study on the table. Behind the stall, there is a small flag with 8 big characters on it. Understand the text and judge the meaning. Speak without error. Such a big tone naturally attracted the attention of many passing monks. Soon someone took out a single page tentatively and came to Zhao Chen's stall. He was a young man who looked only in his early 20s, speaking with a Shuzhai accent, not a local. "This is what I got from a group of monsters a few days ago. Take a look." Zhao Chen glanced at it and frowned slightly, because it was not an ordinary cloud seal or thunder text, but the heart demon secret text mentioned by Fei Meng. The fragment of 12 methods of heart light he got before was written in this kind of evil text from the heart light temple. Seeing Zhao Chen frowning, the young man thought he didn't recognize him, and laughed meaningfully. Any questions? Zhao Chen glanced at him and said lightly, the fee for deciphering the text is 100 strings of cash. 100 strings of cash, why don't you go and rob it? The young man blurted out after hearing the offer, and felt that the decipher in front of him had gone crazy. He was about to take the single page back, and muttered in his heart, sure enough, there are not many normal deciphers. Although it comes from an evil organization, this is a complete spell that can be condensed into a talisman seed and cultivated to the 9th level. Are you sure you don't want me to decipher it? Zhao Chen did not stop him from taking the single page back, but just smiled and said, the complete point alone is much more valuable than Zhao Chen's fragment. You must know that, although he has several spells from the 12 methods of heart light, most of them can only be used with difficulty, and there is no way to condense into spells and talismans. Only the Yeezy Hint method searched from the Z family treasure house is complete. A complete spell, cultivated to the 9th level. The young man with a Shu accent stopped in his tracks and asked in surprise, are you sure? He was born in a small sect in Shu, and his family did not have many powerful spells. As a result, he had only condensed 3 life spells with his 3rd level of magic power, which was really poor. This time, in addition to looking for the energy required for a spell passed down by his family, he also wanted to collect more life spells that were suitable for him. This spell is called Greedy Indulgence Spell, which should be one of the 12 heart light spells. It can affect the enemy's mind and unconsciously amplify the other party's desires. Zhao Chen did not say this directly, but transmitted it in secret. At the same time, he once again sighed about his fate with the 12 heart light spells. Zhao Chen had already seen this greedy lust method on the evil sun demon sword held by the North Kishan Lion Huan's Heyman who was killed by Yansan, but he didn't get the method to practice this spell at that time, but now he has made up for it. The 12 methods of heart light. The young man's heart moved when he heard this. He was not unfamiliar with this classic book that the Heartlight Temple deliberately spread, especially he got a copy of Paper Crane Tracking Method from the group of monsters that were wiped out before, which can be cultivated into Heartsea Tracking Mantra, one of the 12 methods of Heartlight. Yes, the scientific name of Paper Crane Tracking Method is Heartsea Tracking Mantra, and Paper Crane is one of the media of the latter. This mantra can be cast with paper crane or other similar things, but too many people use paper cranes, so it has been passed down as the current paper crane tracking method. Although the 12 methods of Heartlight is called method, it can actually be divided into 5 methods, 4 techniques and 3 mantras. The 5 methods are the method of indulging in lust with the word greed, the method of generating anger with the word anger, the method of controlling the mind with the word stupidity, the method of confusing the mind with the word slowness, and the method of suggesting with the word doubt. If these 5 spells are cultivated into the innate spells and reach the 9th level, there is a chance to combine the Gang and the Shap and the Canon Lee can help each other and achieve a 2nd grade magical power evil fixed 5 poisonous hearts, which can destroy people's morality and magical powers, and is extremely vicious. The 4 skills are blind heart skills, mind observing skills, heart epidemic skills and heart healing skills. The 4 skills are combined into one, and can piece together a 3rd grade demon pupil type magical power heart demon pupil. As for the 3 mantras, they are composed of Heartsea Tracking Mantra, Illusion Dream Nanka Mantra and Great Prajna Heart Mantra, which can achieve a 4th grade magical power heart realm travel. Although these 3 magical powers will inevitably be watched by the evil demons behind the Xingcha temple once they are cultivated, there is still a solution in Daksha. If you already have a higher level of magical power as a foundation, it will be even less of a problem. The information he had obtained from the demons before flashed through his mind. The young man gritted his teeth and took out a stack of banknotes issued by the Imperial Court. Zhao Chen did not despise it. After taking the money, he tore off a new piece of white paper and began to write the content of the greedy word indulgence method. The other onlookers wanted to come forward, but they were pushed away by an invisible force and could not get close. Even those who opened their eyes could not see the words on the paper clearly. Everyone immediately understood that this interpreter was either very powerful or had a Gangsha magic weapon, so they all put away their contempt. After a while, Zhao Chen stopped writing, handed the written translation to the young man, and said meaningfully, "I will interpret the text here in the next few days. If there are any Dao texts obtained from other demons, you can bring them." He was sure that the young man had seized more than just this page. The young man with a Shuzhang accent heard the voice transmission. His eyes were erratic, but he soon bowed to Zhao Chen and turned to leave the market. At this time, seeing that someone had really solved the scripture and spell, many people were tempted and came forward to try. In this way, Zhuan Taoist successfully opened a shop in the market of Zhanghai Gao's district and inevitably attracted covetous people. After closing the stall in the afternoon, Zhao Chen glanced behind him with the eye of the void and left the market slowly. Although fishing for Li Yunfeng is more important, the role of escort cannot be neglected, right? Chapter 285 Fate. Since it was only 1500 hours, it was still early. After leaving the market, Zhao Chen did not rush back to Heifenglao, which was located at the junction of Gao's district and Linte district, but turned to another commercial street with tall buildings. There were no small stalls and vendors here, but only shops opened by major families and sects. Zhao Chen walked through the streets and alleys, and finally entered a business called Dunjia Lao, which specialized in materials containing Gangsha Qi. This was the shop recommended by Zheng Qingyan for him. It was said to be the property of Yuzhou Wu family, one of the aristocratic families. Although the Wu family was the main rival of the Zheng family in the sea trade business, it was still relatively reliable. Zhao Chen came here to buy the last missing material for refining the magical instrument small 5-element Hunyuan Fire Thunder Pearl, Hunyuan Gold Fire Evil. Although this kind of evil spirit is expensive, it can be formed during a volcanic eruption, so it is quite common. Families like the Wu family, which control many volcanic islands in the South China Sea, must have a lot of it. It's just that the price is touching. Zhao Chen couldn't help but be a little surprised when he heard the offer of 3,700 guan. If he hadn't held an exhibition in Yumen before and sold a lot of specialties looted from the cave, he probably wouldn't be able to get so much cash now. After all, most of the money he had was used to buy cultivation items and then recharge the star chariot. Originally, Zhao Chen wanted to buy a few more evil spirits to confuse people, but now he can only give up for the time being. Putting away the newly acquired Hunio and Gold Fire Evil, Zhao Chen, who finally gathered all the materials, didn't rush to the branch of Xiangang Pavilion in Zhanghai to issue the refining task. After all, as an institution under the Imperial Court, the real weapon refining masters of Xiangang Pavilion are all concentrated in Xidu. In the end, Zheng Qingyan will have to make a trip for this matter. Xia River flows down from the plateau, through Ganzhou, Shanzhou, Bingzhou and other states, through the entire Daxia, and merges into the East China Sea. Qingyan's dream of the goddess of beauty magical power can almost achieve the effect of teleportation along this river, but it doesn't take too much time. While calculating in his mind, Zhao Chen visited several bookstores that purchased classics in succession and sold part of the Dao Wenzi classics he translated in the past few days. After recovering the funds, he returned to Heifeng Tower leisurely, ordered a table of delicious dishes again, and enjoyed them. In a single room on the second floor of a tavern, 3 monks sat at a table by the window, and from time to time they looked at Heifeng Tower across the street. The leader of the 3 was a purple monk. He glanced at his 2 companions and said carefully, "I have already inquired clearly. This Zhuan Taoist came from Shanzhou, and is quite famous. I don't know how many classics written in Dao when he translated along the way. This is a huge fortune." A thin man beside him said in a sharp voice, "But boss, we know nothing about the methods of the Zhuan Taoist. It is not the style of our 3 Moruo thieves to act rashly. What's more, there is also a monk with the 3rd level of magic power in the Sea Breeze Tower. The opportunity cannot be missed, and the risk is worth it." The purple monk first clarified the action, and then analyzed, as if to cheer himself up. The real masters of Jiwen have special souls, and can hardly condense Gangsha magic, so their own combat power is very low. They usually have guards or powerful magic weapons. And this Zuanten Taoist has always been alone, so it is obviously the latter. As long as our attack is sudden enough, he will not have time to use the magic weapon. I think the success rate is at least 60%. As for the old man in Heifeng Tower, let my third brother stop him. Having said this, he paused, looked at the tall and strong man on the other side of the table, and asked, "Third brother, are you okay?" The man nodded, and said in a humming voice, "No problem, my magic just restrains the old man you." "That's good. We will act at 7 PM, and evacuate Heifeng Tower before the arrival of Chow Time and hide in the night market." After nodding slightly, the purple-robed monk told his two companions about his detailed plan. At the same time, in the room rented by Zhao Chen, Li Yunfeng's retainer Chu Yuan was drinking tea and chatting with Zhao Chen, who had eaten and drunk enough. This music master with the beautiful reputation of style and autumn moon, sound, and spring cloud obviously planted spies in the market of Gao's district, so he got the news of the appearance of Zuanten Taoist at the first time. Chu Yuan glanced at the tavern opposite the Heifeng building with disdain in his eyes, then turned to Zhao Chen and asked with a smile, "Master, do you need me to clean up these troubles for you? If you clean them up, what about my role as the escort?" Zhao Chen shook his head and said indifferently, "No need, and I also need to borrow them to deter the scoundrels." "Then Chu will not interfere." Chu Yuan did not insist. After all, he knew that this master came all the way from the East China Sea to Ganzhou. If he did not have a powerful self-defense method, he would have been killed long ago. After the two of them exchanged a few simple polite words, Zhao Chen got straight to the point and asked, "Mr. Chu, do you have another classic book for me to translate this time?" "That's right." Chu Yuan put down the teacup, took out a piece of paper made of unknown material from his arms, and handed it to Zhao Chen. "I know the rules, and I have prepared a 100 guan silver note for the master." Silver notes are issued by the money houses and ticket shops of various clans and aristocratic families. In terms of credibility, they are actually better than the imperial treasure notes. Is this Li Yunfeng trying to test my skills again? This kid has suffered too much. Is he starting to grow his brain? After Zhao Chen complained in his heart, he took the page that looked like a withered yellow leaf, and at the same time, visualized the 9 lights gold seal, and his spirit entered the star chariot, and began to sell and buy back. Is this the complete practice method of Dream Nank Curse? I just lamented that I was too predestined with the 12 lights of the heart, but I got 2 of them in one day. Is it because the 12 lights of the heart has been spread too widely, or has my fate with Xinjiang Temple deepened again? What did I do in the past 2 days? Is it because I snatched the cloud crown? Or has there been a small breakthrough in the relationship with Fei Meng's incarnation? After thinking for a moment, Zhao Chen felt that it was probably the latter. After all, it was Fei Meng who had a great cause and effect with Xinjiang Temple, and I could only be considered a joint relationship. And this sudden deepening of fate entanglement, perhaps because Fei Meng's attitude towards me has changed? Is she no longer so determined to sever her relationship with me? Well, my intimacy with King Iron wasn't too excessive. Could it be that this also stimulated Fei Meng's true self? For some reason, Zhao Chen, who came to this conclusion, was even a little complacent. After all, this showed that he still had weight in Fei Meng's heart. Chapter 286 Experiment. Zhao Chen knew that, although Fei Meng acted very intimate in front of him, in fact, the girl's heart had always been closed. If there was a chance to end the fate between the two, she would never hesitate, just like she did to her parents and relatives. But now, maybe there is a gap in her closed heart. Thinking of this, Zhao Chen's mood became quite good, and his perception of Chu Yuan also improved a lot. After watching this music master leave Heifeng Tower with the translated Dream Nank Curse complete method, Zhao Chen also studied the 2 spells he got today, while waiting for the robbery thieves to come. Shuzhou, Jingguan City. Qi Fei Meng lived in a slightly shabby temple and respectfully worshipped a wooden statue of thousand-handed Guanyin. Then the statue's eyes shed tears of blood, and bursts of black smoke came out of its head, which was thrown into a picture of Guanyin that appeared behind Qi Fei Meng's head. After about an incense stick of time, the Guanyin picture disappeared on its own, and the statue of thousand-hand Guanyin also turned into dust and scattered with the wind. Through the gains from the last mission, the acupoints related to the 8th orifice have been condensed, and only half a step is needed to open the anterior yin orifice. Now that the remains of the 1000-hand guanyin have been refined, I can impact the 8th orifice. Otherwise, won't he catch up and surpass me? Qi Meng muttered a few words, and a trace of melancholy came to his heart again. I seem to always think of him recently. If this goes on, how can the fate between him and me be severed? But I can feel the intimacy between King Guyan and him, so how can I not think about it, and not be disturbed? It seems that my character cultivation is still not enough. While sighing, Qi Meng suddenly looked in the direction of the temple gate, and couldn't help but sighed. They are tracking us again. The killers of the Yin Sea are really persistent. It seems that I have to change my identity again. Thinking of this, Qi Meng did not stay any longer and flew away. A cup of tea later, 2 masked killers entered the semi-abandoned Buddhist temple and looked at the unburned incense sticks. When Qi Meng worshipped the 1000-armed guanyin, "She hasn't gone far, let's chase her," one of them said. When he saw this, the leading killer waved his hand to stop him and shook his head. "No need, I think she has changed her appearance and identity, and there is no point in chasing her. Then let her escape from our Yunzi again and again." In the past half month, our business in Shuzhou has decreased by nearly 30%. The man before said unwillingly, "If it weren't for the fact that we can't use muskets, she would have been captured long ago. If they really wanted to kill her, they would have sent the oxen and horse ghost envoys of the magical level. I always feel that the organization is making some arrangements under the pretext of hunting down this woman." The leading killer narrowed his eyes and didn't say much. He only warned lightly, "The customs of the Shuzhou Jianghu are special. There is no problem with swords and knives, but if you use fire guns, you will inevitably be attacked by a group. Many colleagues have verified this with their lives before. Don't think about taking this shortcut." Just when the 2 killers lost Qi Meng again, Zhangqi, who had made a simple disguise, also got off the train from the south station of Jingguan City and mixed into this famous city and Shu with a crowded crowd. Taking advantage of the opportunity to take a carriage to visit the scenic spots in the city, Zhangqi lifted the curtain of the carriage and stared at an elegant and unique garden from a distance for a long time. Then he restrained the strong hatred in his eyes, touched the hero scarf worn on his forehead, and asked in a cold voice, "Senior, what should I do next?" Gansao, Zhanghai City. The 3 Moro thieves who had conspired in the tavern before finally took action. They took advantage of the night and climbed into the building from the backyard of the Seabreeze building. Then they quickly separated. The purple-clothed boss and the black-clothed second brother went straight to the 3rd floor, ready to quickly control the Zuanten Taoist, while the sturdy and honest brown-clothed third brother was arranged to guard the passage on the 2nd floor, to block the rescue of the man among Old Manu. After arriving at the door of the innermost room on the 3rd floor, the purple-clothed boss first listened for a moment, and then took the black-clothed second brother to use one of his life spells, the wall-penetrating spell, and came directly behind the Zuanten Taoist and shouted, "Fix." Although the wall-penetrating spell and fixed body spell are more useful than spells such as cleaning spell and water spell, they are rarely condensed into life spells because of their poor power and general effects. The reason why the purple-clothed boss did this is probably because he really couldn't find a matching gangsha spell, so he could only refine it to make up the number. This shows how difficult it is to be a casual cultivator. However, even if he used the immobilization technique, the purple-clothed boss did not dare to be careless. After all, this spell is purely used to bully people. It is always beneficial to those at a lower level, but it can only make the opponent's magic power stagnate for a moment at the same level. He stretched his hand forward and released 3 illusory small flags, surrounding the Zuanten Taoist in it. This was his most adept life spell, the small 3 talents formation. It was not until then that the purple-clothed boss breathed a sigh of relief. After all, Master Ji Wen's soul is special, and the gangsha spells he condensed are generally inclined to resist pollution, stabilize himself, and maintain rationality. He is not good at fighting and relies on magic tools, and his small 3 talents formation not only restricts actions, but also has the greatest effect of temporarily banning magic tools. Master, we, the 3 Mora thieves, are only after money. If you don't resist, we won't kill you. The purple clothed boss deliberately changed his voice and said this with a sincere tone, trying to undermine the resistance of the Zhuangten Taoist. Seeing that the Zhuangten Taoist had no reaction, the purple clothed boss thought that he had acquiesced. He was about to order the black-clothed second brother beside him to look for the classics translated by the master, but at this time he heard a joking voice behind him. "Then should I thank you?" The purple-clothed boss was startled, and the figure of the Zhuangten Taoist suddenly appeared in his spiritual consciousness. He was standing not far away, and looking at him with a smile. "How is this possible? I have confirmed before that the person trapped by the little three talents formation is you. What is going on?" The purple-clothed boss looked at the person trapped by the formation again with disbelief on his face. The person slowly stood up, turned his head to face him, and revealed a terrifying face that was half a skeleton and half blurred flesh and blood. "Ah!" The purple-clothed boss screamed, and the scene in front of him suddenly shattered, and then he woke up. It turned out that what he just saw was just a dream. But before he could come to his senses, his second brother, who was dressed in black and had pointed ears and monkey cheeks, had already rushed over with bloodshot eyes and kept saying, "People die for money, birds die for food. Big brother, I'm sorry." Before he finished speaking, a black iron dart condensed by magic power was fired out, and it broke into 7 pieces during the flight, hitting 7 different directions. This is exactly his life spell, mother and child soul separation dart. This spell was pretty good more than 100 years ago, but nowadays when firearms are popular, few people are interested in it, and there is no inherited casual cultivator who would be so hungry and indiscriminate. Zhao Chen, who was standing aside and watching the thieves and fighting, smiled and nodded at this moment, thinking, illusionary dream curse, greed word indulgence method, TSK. 12 methods of heart light are really useful. Chapter 287, In a Demon. The dream curse is somewhat similar to the ghost entering dreams of the yin demon lineage, but the latter is to directly enter the dreamland after the other party falls asleep, while the former is to let the other party actively have a daydream directed by oneself. Different emphasis, each has its own merits. In addition, the complete greed indulgence method combined with the dream curse is really a master at stirring up extreme emotions. The reason why the 4 heroes Lu Zhen and Lu fell into the hands of Ma Guanglian was probably because they suffered a similar method. It's quite strange to say that the heart demon is independent of the 4 major demon sects and has become a school of its own. Is it that the Taishi demon lord did not inherit the heart demon? Finally, the power of the cloud crown is even stronger than I imagined. The spells cast by the orifice refining monks can actually reach the power of the second and third turns under its amplification. Otherwise, it would not be so easy for me to make the 2 mana monks fall into dreams. Of course, this is also because the so-called 3 Moruo thieves are too weak. Based on the fighting power of these 2 people, even Yan Xingcha, who is at the 9 apertures realm, can probably kill them alone without any damage. Just as Zhao Chen was testing his newly acquired spells and magic weapons, the battle between the purple-clothed boss and the black-clothed second brother also entered a white-hot stage. The black-clothed monk, who was aroused by the treasure in the dream, completely ignored the past friendship. After unexpectedly injuring the eldest brother with the mother-child soul-separating dart, he drew a short knife and started to fight with him in close combat. Speaking of which, although this black-clothed second brother with a sly look also has the cultivation level of the 4th level of magic power, which is equivalent to Yan Xingcha, the spells he mastered are very different. Except for the outdated mother-child soul separating dart, which is still a bit worth seeing. The rest are some auxiliary spells such as rabbit escape curse, soft bone technique, and shadow hiding technique, and the frontal combat ability is terrible. On the other hand, the purple-clothed boss, although he practiced quite common spells such as wall penetrating technique and immobilization technique, also had 3 relatively powerful spells, 1 for attack, 1 for defense, and 1 for control. Among them, the small 3 talents formation he used in his dream was a control skill, with the attack and defense being windblade technique and purple silk clothes respectively. If he had not been attacked by the mother-child soul separation dart, which not only injured the purple-clothed boss, but also poisoned him, he would have taken down his second brother by now. He caught 2 of the 7 iron darts with his hands, dodged 2, and blocked 2 with the purple silk clothes. but one still hit him solidly. Seeing that his second brother was already blood-curdling, and that his swords were coming at him one after another, the purple-closed boss, whose close combat skills were weak, and who could not condense the wind blade due to the poison, could only dodge left and right with his fairly good Kingang skills, and kept calling out his second brother's name, hoping that he would wake up. However, everything was in vain. After Zhao Chen began to test the effect of the doubt in the battle, the fate of the two of them, no, to be precise, the fate of the three invading thieves had been written into the script, and was completely controlled by Zhao Chen. Soon, the second brother, who was blinded by greed, paid the price of serious injury, and stabbed the dagger into the chest of the purple-closed boss. This scene was coincidentally seen by the third brother, who came to inform them to retreat. The latter completely lost his mind under the influence of the anger-generating anger method, and rushed forward to punch the second brother, who was seriously injured and unable to move. But soon, the third brother, who woke up, was extremely regretful. Looking at the bodies of the eldest and second brothers, he fell into a state of collapse and was easily controlled by the idiot mind control method. Finally, after taking away the bodies of the two brothers and burying them on a slope on the outskirts of the city, the third brother also chose to fulfill the oath of dying on the same year, month, and day when they swore brotherhood, and died by cutting his heart vein. Zhao Chen, who personally directed all of this, couldn't help but sigh. The 12 methods of Heartlight are indeed weird, worthy of being a practice method from the evil organization Heartlight Temple. To play with people's hearts so wantonly, if the mind is unstable, sooner or later they will fall and be controlled by the heart demon. Maybe this is a reason why Heartlight Temple has gone to great lengths to spread the 12 methods. But since the Daksha government has not explicitly banned it, the harm should not be that great. After all, as King Gan said, apart from the true teachings of the three holy places, which method does not have hidden dangers? And as far as I know, although the 12 methods of Heartlight is listed as a true teaching, it is only an auxiliary practice in the Heartlight Temple. As his thoughts turned, Zhao Chen stood by the window, glanced at a few figures that were originally hidden in the darkness, but were now quickly moving away, and couldn't help but curled the corners of his mouth. The three Mera thieves were not the only ones who coveted the classics in his hands, but after seeing their strange end, the others were obviously frightened and chose to retreat temporarily. The progress of the escort seems to have increased a little. It seems that in addition to relying on force to protect the goods, it is also effective to frighten the enemy and make them stop on their own initiative. Well, in the ancient times of the previous life, the escort was not only good at martial arts, but also had to have prestige, be able to make friends, and make the enemy give face. Speaking of which, this is very suitable for my 5 immortal spiritual key. I can find an opportunity to try it next time. Cheyenne Blessed Land, Li Yunfeng's mansion. Chu Yuan asked for an interview overnight and handed the translation of the Dream Nank Curse to Mr. Li. After Li Yunfeng took it, he was a little careless at first, but soon became serious, and his face was full of joy at the end. Good. This spell translation is even more perfect than the one my eldest cousin translated. Many things I didn't understand before were suddenly enlightened after reading this article. He is really a master of interpretation. The young man said good several times and was so excited that he walked around the room several times. Only then did he calm down a little and ordered, "Mr. Chu, please invite this master tomorrow and temporarily arrange him to my other courtyard in Liyuan district. Don't let him have any contact with my brothers." At this point, he paused and continued, "My uncle will come back the day after tomorrow. I will report this to him when I pay my respects." Li Yunfeng's biological father is uneducated and has an average status in the family, but his father's eldest brother, his uncle Li Changlin, has condensed the 3rd grade magical power 5 Emperor's True Sword and is currently the leading figure in the Li family. Although Li Changlin also looks down on Li Yunfeng, they are still close and will not deliberately suppress him, let alone embezzle his credit. He is the best candidate for reporting. Human, Jinbio Martial Arts School. Zheng Qingyan looked at Gong Yun, who had transformed into Zhao Chen, and asked with a half smile, "Are you the little black cat he mentioned?" Chapter 288 Confrontation. The moment she saw Zheng Qingyuan appear in front of her, Gong Yun felt guilty for no reason, but she quickly realized she was just making a deal with Zhao Chen, so why should she be afraid of the girl from the Zheng family? No. I'm still afraid, but I should be afraid of his strength, not something else. Meet the Sakura Dragon Fairy. After adjusting her thoughts, Gong Yun, who was dressed in the appearance of Zhao Chen, first bowed to Zheng Qingyuan, and then emphasized, I can indeed transform into a black cat, but it's not his. Zheng Qingyuan stared at her expressionlessly for a while, and said in a voice that only she could hear, it's only a matter of time. Then, without waiting for Gong Yun to speak, she changed the subject and asked, is it difficult for you to play the two roles of Zhao Chen and Gong Yun now? The tone was like the eldest wife asking the concubine about her daily life. Although Gong Yun murmured in her heart, she still answered seriously on the surface. Fortunately, I have a Xingcha spell called Double Phantom, which can create a physical clone in a short period of time. When the sisters Gong Yun and Gong Fei appeared in the same occasion before, I have always done this. At least no one has seen through me in Human County. She did not hide the fact that Gong Yun and Gong Fei were the same person. Since Zhao Chen already knew it, the Sakura Dragon Fairy in front of him was most likely aware of it as well. As she spoke, Gong Yun had a thought, and a figure walked out of her body, and then transformed into the appearance of the breaking delusionized Gong Lady. Because the clothes could not be transformed, the figure only appeared for a moment, allowing Zheng Qingyuan to understand something, and then was taken back by Gong Yun. Double Phantom. Judging from the strength, it should be 9 turns. No wonder the cultivators with magical powers can't tell without careful investigation. Zheng Qingyuan narrowed her eyes and said meaningfully, you know, on the human outstanding people list, the breaking delusion eyes is ranked only one place higher than the red cloud sword, and it has always been believed that it took only 2 or 3 years to break through the magic power, and only the 4th to 5th turns of cultivation. Gong Yun didn't expect that the Sakura Dragon Fairy had such a sharp vision. She only showed her magic a little bit, and it was exposed. So she smiled awkwardly. You have to keep some cards in your hand when you venture into the world. And I'm already 25 years old this year, so it's normal to have the 9th level of cultivation. She regretted it as soon as she said it, because the latter half of the sentence was superfluous and made her look guilty. Sure enough, after hearing her words, the girl from the Zheng family rarely raised her lips and showed an ambiguous smile. 25 years old? Not necessarily. Gong Yun and Gong Fei are indeed 24 or 25 years old, but you are not. Gong Yun's heart skipped a beat and she forced a smile. Aren't they me? The Gong sisters were born in Guangnan County near Jingguan City in Shuzhou, but their family offended the powerful people in Shu and were killed on the way to escape. And after you avenged the sisters and buried them, you borrowed their identities to come to Ganzhou. Although this matter is secret, once it is done, there will inevitably be traces. In addition, my 9 Yaoyi of Celestial Phenomena ranks 2nd, and can be regarded as a top-notch divination skill. Although I can't figure out your background, I can deduce that your actual age is not older than mine. Well, just call me Sister Zheng in the future. Zheng Qingyuan revealed the details of Gong Yun in one breath. This is a secret that even Zhao Chen did not know. Gong Yun's expression became extremely wonderful. She did not expect that the secret hidden for many years would be revealed so easily. She looked at Zheng Qingyuan with a complex look, with shock and vigilance. Seeing that Gong Yun's momentum was taken away, Zheng Qingyuan nodded secretly. Since the purpose of knocking has been achieved, she did not continue to provoke the other party, and asked instead, I wonder what my sister's real name is? Just call me Gong Yun, or use the name Superhuman that he gave me. Gong Yun breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, her most core secret was still preserved. Shuzhou, Guangnan County, the backyard of the dilapidated old house of the Gong family. Qi Meng, who was hiding there, flipped through the Gong family tree in her hand and chuckled. What a coincidence. Then, she looked at the sun rising on the horizon, squinted her eyes and said, Black cat? I think it's the reincarnation of a black tiger. Transaction. Black tiger, spirit of the sun. Could that be the one who is following Erlang? But why didn't his fate connect with the dragon and tiger sect, but instead he embarked on the path of Taichu? After talking to herself for a few sentences, she suddenly sighed again, shook her head, and thought to herself with a wry smile, alas, how can I guess the arrangement of such an existence? That person may not have no relationship with the Taoist master Taichu. For example, I practiced the Great Compassion and Great Mercy Guanzizhe Heart Sutra in order to introduce the influence of Guanyin into my own destiny, so as to prevent me from getting closer and closer to the Goddess of Light. But, who would have thought that the Goddess of Light in Taixi might also be an incarnation of Guanyin Bodhisattva? Ganzhou, in the market of Zhangai Gao's district. Zhao Chen didn't know about the confrontation between Zheng Qingyuan and his little black cat. He was sitting in front of his stall at this time, interpreting the text for the monks in need, while waiting for the fish to take the bait. And soon, the little fish from yesterday came first. My humble name is Gongking. Nice to meet Master Zhuanten. Master, I have found another spell written in Dao Wenzi. Please have a look. The man who came was the young man with a Shuzhou accent. He politely introduced himself, before asking Zhao Chen to interpret the text. Zhao Chen glanced at it, and then he devoted his attention to completing a series of operations in the crossing chat. He found that the young man named Gongking had indeed taken out another one of the 12 methods of Xinguang, the slow word Mi Shen Fa. Zhao Chen pinched his chin and thought for a moment, then said to Gongking, who was full of expectation, "It is indeed a method of practicing the innate magic. The old rules, 100 strings of cash." Gongking looked embarrassed and pleaded nervously, "Master, I'm a regular customer. Can you give me a discount?" "It's not impossible to give a discount," Zhao Chen said lightly, and seeing Gongking looking at him with surprise, he continued, "But you have to tell me how you got these 2 pages of spells." Hearing this, Gongking hesitated a little, but after Zhao Chen gestured the number 3, he gritted his teeth and said, "I can tell the master, but the master must not spread it." "Okay, let's sign the contract." Zhao Chen nodded and agreed happily. The so-called contract was naturally notarized by the 16 gold star Libra sword. After checking the contents of the contract and confirming that it was correct, Gongking signed his name and then organized his sentences. "I'm a disciple of the Yunshan sword sect in Shuzhou. This time I came to Ganzhou to find my relatives. But who would have thought that I would meet the Qin Palace and the Shu Palace jointly destroying the cult stronghold on the way." Chapter 289 Joke. Yunshan Sword Sect? I haven't heard of it. But in Shu, the most respected sect is Zhanjia, and there are so many sword sects that it's not surprising that I haven't heard of it. But since they were able to establish a sect, no matter what the current situation is, their ancestors must have had a supernatural power cultivator. Only cultivators with supernatural powers are qualified to pass down the Taoist tradition, and the title of Grand Master comes from this. There are still people who don't follow this rule in other places, but it is impossible in Shuzhou, which respects ancient rituals. While Zhao Chen was thinking, Gongking continued, "I was staying in a village near Jinyu Road, and suddenly I felt the earth dragon turning over. When I stood up and looked, I saw the sky darken, and then it fell straight down, as if without any support, and landed on a hill not far away with the breath of destroying the world. And there was a faint golden light on the top of the hill, but it was covered by the blue sky, and shattered with one blow. I guessed that the blue sky might be some kind of Dharma image, so I didn't dare to look at it for too long. I just guided the villagers to take refuge. It was not until I heard rumors later that I knew it was a fight between His Royal Highness the Prince of Qin and the evil projection of the Xingguang Temple. At this time, many villagers ran towards the shattered hilltop like crazy. After I forcibly restrained them, I found that these people were all believers of the evil spirit and had lost their minds. And this page of Dao Wenzi magic secret book was the spoils of war at that time. This sounds like a cliché picking up a bargain story. But why hasn't the village, which is so close to the Xingguang Temple stronghold, been checked? It actually depends on a passing young man to finish it off. Unless it happened suddenly, or the King of Qin did it on purpose. After listening to Gongking's story, Zhao Chen frowned, but didn't delve into it. Anyway, it was none of his business. After making sure that the young man in front of him was not lying, and the martial arts had a clean origin, he wrote down the translated version of Xingcha and handed it to the other party and charged 30 strings of cash. He just stretched out 3 fingers, to tell Gong King that he could get a 30% discount. After the young man with Sichuan accent left happily, the big fish that Zhao Chen had been waiting for finally arrived. Master Zhuanten, Chu Yuan is here to pay his respects. Li Yunfeng's worshipper Chu Yuan said with a smile. His 3 long beards fluttered down on his chest, and he looked like an immortal, with an extraordinary appearance. Mr. Chu, do you have another classic that needs me to interpret? Zhao Chen asked with a smile after greeting. Not really. I just think this kind of roadside stall can't show the master's status, and my son also admires the master's style, and is willing to follow the example of Xiaoyu Tower, and provide a special place for the master to interpret the text. Chu Yuan glanced at the monks around waiting for the interpretation of the text, and said loudly, the Li family is willing to guarantee Master Zhuanten. You can hand over the Dao Wenzi classics to Master Zhuanten, and come to collect it after the master has interpreted it. All contract fees will be borne by my Li family. A truly effective contract document is very valuable. Even Xiaoyu Tower charged a fee at the time. That Master Li Yunfeng is really generous with money. As for Chu Yuan's decision to take over, Zhao Chen was not unhappy. After all, the other party had already mentioned this matter when he came to visit last night, and he agreed at that time. After Chu Yuan appeased all the cultivators, he bowed to Zhao Chen again and said respectfully, Master, please move. Zhao Chen was not hypocritical. He said okay, and closed his stall. Then he followed Chu Yuan to get on the carriage waiting outside the market. Master, I'm amazed by the skills you have revealed. I plan to introduce you to the current leader of the Li family, 3 absolute swordsman Li Changlin, the day after tomorrow. In the carriage, Chu Yuan smiled and told Zhao Chen about Li Yunfeng's plan. After the conversation last night and the other party's happy acceptance of the invitation, Chu Yuan probably guessed that this Zhuanten master seemed to have something to ask of the Li family. 3 absolute swordsman Li Changlin? This man is said to have cultivated the 3rd grade magical power 5 Emperor's True Sword, which is indeed a leading figure in the Li family, but he is only one of them. After all, even if the head of the family, Li Fuchen, is missing, most of the people in power in the Li family are of the Fu generation. Although Li Changlin is one of the strongest in the family, his generation is low. However, it is enough. As his thoughts turned, Zhao Chen took the opportunity to chat with Chu Yuan, the retainer who helped Li Yunfeng manage intelligence work, and talked about several major events that have recently made a sensation in the great Zhijianghu. First, it was the feat of Zhang Rumeng, the contemporary true disciple of the Dragon and Tiger sect who had cultivated the 1st grade great supernatural power 9 returns and 7 returns dragon and tiger golden pill, who killed 6 evil cult supernatural powers in Bazhao. You must know that those 6 supernatural powers are not low grade trash. 4 of them have cultivated high grade supernatural powers and are extremely notorious. But even so, they still died from the golden light curse blessed by the 9 returns and 7 returns dragon and tiger golden pill. Zhang Rumeng's strength can be seen. When Zhao Chen took the train to Zhanghai, Zhang Rumeng had already taken a boat to Shu. Most people guessed that he was going to test the swords of many sword schools in Shu and finally ascend to Jianzhou. Secondly, Zhuge King, a descendant of Zhao Zhuge family, one of the aristocratic families, officially entered the martial arts world. In his first battle, he captured a veteran supernatural cultivator of Wan Shaoman, demonstrating the power of Zhuge family's first-class supernatural power 8 arrays of gods and ghosts. In addition to these 2 people, the contemporary true disciples and direct descendants of Yaoshao Liu family, Jizhao Su family, Jinglian sect, Huashan sect and other aristocratic families and upper sects also entered the martial arts world and began to experience. The oldest among them is only in his early 20s, and the younger ones are only 16 or 17 years old, but they are all masters of supernatural powers. According to Chu Yuan, their names will definitely be on the star's supernatural power list 3 years later. Finally, there is a joke from Beating. It is said that someone dug up an ancient tomb from the ancient Tang dynasty near Lunte, the old city of Beating, which caused a sensation. After all, although there are complete historical books and various poems and scriptures before the Jiaxing changes evidence, few people can find evidence of the existence of the Tang dynasty, especially the Tang dynasty after the Jiaxing change. and this ancient tomb is said to be the tomb of Gufeng, a famous master of the beating protectorate during the Tang dynasty, who was known as a little cinnabar that makes ghosts fear. But unfortunately, this unknown hero Gu played a big joke on everyone. Although he said on the stone tablet in the tomb that he was a person from the Tangguang period, he recorded in detail the whole process of a young hero killing a powerful enemy with a fire gun. As we all know, fire guns have only been invented for a few hundred years and have only become popular in the past 100 years. How could they appear in ancient times? So, through various arguments, this Gudaksha should be a tomb robber. He put the stolen things in his own tomb and played such a joke on everyone. Chu Yuan smiled and felt helpless about the bad taste of Gudaksha. But Zhao Chen couldn't laugh when he heard the news. Chapter 290 Before the Storm. Zhao Chen was deeply impressed by Gufeng, the hero who escorted his benefactor's daughter for thousands of miles without caring about his own life and death, and he admired his character. Moreover, in Zhao Chen's eyes, he had only separated from him last month, but he didn't expect to hear about him again, that his tomb had been dug up. This inevitably made Zhao Chen feel sentimental inside. I remember Fei Meng said that there are many types of historical fog, some of which cover an area, while others intercept a period of time. The ancient historical fault is likely to be the latter. And when Fei Meng and I enter history and complete the task, we can let the intercepted time return to reality. But in the past, I knew it, but I didn't feel it. But now the tomb of an acquaintance has appeared, and it also records the deeds of Fei Meng and me. This feeling is really complicated and hard to describe. When I have time, maybe I should go to this joke tomb to take a look. Later on the road, Zhao Chen's mood was somewhat affected, resulting in a great loss of talkativeness. He just perfunctorily answered Chu Yuan until the carriage drove into a courtyard in Liyuan district. The so-called Liyuan district, as the name suggests, is an area centered on the Li family's mansion with several large gardens, and almost all residents are Li family members, as well as Li family's in-laws and subordinates. Although the location of Li Yunfeng's villa is very ordinary, it is very beautiful, with flowers in full bloom and winding streams. However, for Zhao Chen, the fragrance of the flowers is a little too strong. He still prefers more elegant fragrances. As soon as Zhao Chen entered the door under the guidance of Chu Yuan, two maids took the initiative to greet him. One of them was dignified and beautiful, and the other was pretty and lovely. They looked at Zhao Chen with shyness and their cheeks were flushed. Obviously they were assigned by Li Yunfeng to serve Master Zhuanten. Ziling, Kinky, meet Elder Chu, meet Master Zhuanten. The two women bowed and saluted Zhao Chen and the others. Chu Yuan pointed to the two maids wearing green and purple shirts respectively, and introduced them briefly. They are the maids who help you take care of this villa. Master, if you have any requirements, they will do their best to meet them. This is a bit ambiguous. Your character of Feng Yi Qiqi who is going to collapse. Zhao Chen complained in his heart, but on the surface he just nodded coldly and asked the two maids to stand up. Although Li Yunfeng had good intentions, Zhao Chen had no intention of touching the maids he sent. Firstly, he had long been spoiled by the pure or gorgeous beauties such as Fei Meng, King Guyan, Sister Hangsha, and Little Black Cat. Secondly, who knows if these maids have been cast into secret ways to spy on him? Apart from anything else, there was once a remnant of the Xingguang temple hidden among the maids in Li Yunfeng's backyard, and he bewitched two masters of the 9th level of magic power to use them. The lesson is not far away, and Zhao Chen does not want to turn over in this regard. Fortunately, the character of Zhuantan Taoist did not include lust in his character along the way, and he did not need to be hypocritical. Besides, these two maids have reached the realm of true energy, so it's not a bad choice for them to be laborers for moving and copying books. Zhao Chen thought. Yicheng, San Mountain. At the gate of Gyuan Sword Sect, Eldling stood above the clouds. His fingers formed into a sword, and with a wave of his hand, an invisible sword energy passed through the air, breaking the mountain protection formation of Gyuan Sword Sect. Boom. With the violent shaking of the mountain, Eldling stretched out his hand, and a mana cultivator in white flew into his hand. That was Tang Ying, the second best master of Gyuan Sword Sect, the intelligence director, and the mana 7th level cultivator. Where is Eduo Han? He asked expressionlessly. No, I don't know. Tang Ying's face was full of resentment, but he didn't dare to act rashly in front of the mana cultivator. Don't know? Then I'll see for myself. Old Ling snorted coldly, stretched out his other hand, and pressed it on the other's head. As a scream sounded, Old Ling frowned, threw Tang Ying aside, and captured another powerful master of Gyuan Sword Sect. After a moment, the white-haired old man did not continue to capture other disciples of Gyuan Sword Sect, but murmured, Zhuo Hong suddenly left Yuchen 5 days ago, and no one knows where he went. So it seems that the Yangxiu crown was most likely stolen by him. This person is cautious, and he even hid it from his own sex confidants. But he left too many personal belongings in Gyuan Sword Sect, so it is not difficult to calculate his approximate location. Hey, I hope he didn't run too far, so as not to delay my search for the Wei County Lord. Thinking of this, Old Ling took a piece of clothing worn by Zhuo Hong, and counted with his fingers. After an incensed stick of time, a hint of surprise flashed in his eyes. He will appear in Human County City? The mission given by the Cheyenne Treasure Mirror is also there. What a coincidence. In a caravan heading to Human, the young girl Zhao Royan, dressed in green, prepared for only one day, after getting the blood shadow magic art translated by Zhao Chen, and then she set off from the Biu market, and rushed to Human, to join her mother's friend in her memory Gongyun, the breaking delusion eye. Although she didn't know why her mother, a lady from a scholarly family, would know a female knight of great reputation. You know, the reputation of the 7 heroes of Emonan is even known in Shanzhou. With doubts, Zhao Royan glanced at the young boy next to her, and said sincerely, Brother Zhao, thank you for escorting me all the way. This place is not far from Human. If you have something to do, just go and do it first. After Zhao Fu, a casual cultivator, got the translated version of his ancestors' notes in the Biu market, he wanted to go to Anai Yuan sect and other places, where his ancestors had stayed to check and look for possible treasures. However, he fell in love with Zhao Royan at first sight, and was worried that she would get into trouble on the way to Human as she had never been far away, so he traveled with Zhao Royan. It won't matter if a day or two, and I heard that Feng Kang of Human Jindio Martial Arts School seems to have some connection with Yuan sect, so I can go and ask him. Zhao Fu looked at Zhao Royan's pretty face, and responded with a smile. At the same time, Zhuo Hong's Heng, the Yi Qi sword, was controlling the sword light and following the caravan closely in the dark. In a small town in the southwest of Ganzhou, painfully when he looked at his subordinates who came to report, his light blue eyes full of surprise. You said you found the specific location of the street in the painting? Yes, Lord Li Wei, my people have confirmed that the location in the painting is in Human County. The subordinate responded respectfully. Human County City. I didn't expect it to be in Human County City. Li Wei was a little emotional. After all, he had participated in the gathering near Human County City more than once before. And in 2 days, it seems that it will be the day of the Zhao gathering. At the edge of a desert, after getting what he wanted to know, Duan Mingsu asked the veiled woman to let go of Yan Xingcha, who was bleeding from the corner of his mouth, and let him ride away on horseback, and then silently said to himself, it turned out that Malaoa seduced Brother Ming. No, according to Yan Xingcha, Malaoa behaved very abnormally. Maybe there is another hidden story. Well, Gongyun and Li Changsheng were the first to notice the problem among the 7 heroes of the South Desert. Maybe they know more. It seems that I have to go to Human. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 291 Li Changlin. Zhang family, Cheyenne Blessed Land. A man who looked only about 30 years old looked at the maid who came to deliver the letter and frowned unconsciously. He had black hair, a straight back, a well-proportioned figure, and a majestic appearance without anger. There was no trace of aging on his face, and he was really charming. He was the 3 absolute sword immortals Li Changlin, who had just returned to the family's blessed land after assisting the 6 gates in arresting a magical cultivator who had committed many major crimes. At this time, after hearing from the maid that his nephew who always caused trouble wanted to see him, Li Changlin did not reply immediately, but after a little hesitation, he called Qin Wu, the housekeeper who stayed in the Blessed Land. Qin Wu was born as a retainer of Li Changlin. He suffered a severe injury in his early years, which destroyed his foundation. His cultivation stopped at the level of the 6th turn of magic power, so he turned to deal with secular affairs. He is Li Changlin's confidant and right-hand man. Seeing Qin Wu, who looked a little thin and looked like he could be blown down by a gust of wind, walk in, Li Changlin didn't say much and asked directly, "Old 5, what has Yunfeng done in the past few days when I was away?" Young Master Yunfeng has been quite honest these days and has not stepped out of Fenglin Garden. Qin Wu reported with a smile. Fenglin Garden is the name of Li Yunfeng's courtyard in the Blessed Land. Li Changlin stared at Qin Wu, waiting for his turning point to come. This is the other party's speaking habit. After decades of getting along, Li Changlin couldn't be more familiar with this style. But, as expected, Qin Wu changed the subject and continued. A day ago, Ling Lao, the magical guard assigned to young Master Yunfeng by the old patriarch, entered the Blessed Land late at night. Then, young Master Yunfeng spent almost all of his contributions to apply for the Cheyenne treasure mirror. In addition, his retainer Chu Yuan found a Ji Wenshi with good skills. Young Master Yunfeng's request for an audience this time is probably for this matter. Hearing this, Li Changlin covered his forehead and sighed. He actually used the Cheyenne treasure mirror. What kind of trouble did he make? As far as I know, Master Yunfeng didn't make any big mistakes. The reason why he used the Cheyenne treasure mirror was because he lost his own Yunxiao treasure crown. He was afraid that the matter would spread and damage his reputation, so he was in a hurry to get it back. Qin Wu replied with a smile. Reputation? What reputation does he have? Li Changlin breathed a sigh of relief, and then he ordered the maid who had been standing in the yard to bring Li Yunfeng over. While the maid was going to the Fenglin Garden, Li Changlin looked at Qin Wu again and said carefully, "The old man Chu Yuan is very prudent in his work. He is a rare capable person under Yunfeng. I still trust the master of interpretation he recommended. But we must also prevent people with ulterior motives from taking the opportunity to sneak into the Blessed Land. You should have investigated the details of the master of interpretation, right?" Qin Wu nodded. Ever since Li Yunfeng lent the villa in Liyuan district to the interpreter for temporary residence, the Zuanten Taoist has entered his sight. It is difficult to find out his detailed background for the time being. We only know that this person came all the way from the East China Sea to Ganzhou and stopped briefly in several towns along the way to help people interpret texts. From the information collected so far, he has a good reputation and his interpretation level is also quite high. Qin Wu just said this when he saw Li Yunfeng had entered the yard under the guidance of the maid, so he stopped talking immediately and stepped back a few steps to stand aside. After Li Yunfeng stepped into the hall, he immediately bowed and called uncle. Li Changlin nodded slightly in response. He was about to speak, but his eyes suddenly narrowed, and anger rose in his heart, because he found that his nephew's memory had been tampered with. Although Li Changlin didn't think much of his nephew Li Yunfeng, he still cared about him a little. After all, he and Li Yunfeng's father were brothers from the same father and mother, and he himself had no children. Now that his nephew was being plotted against in his own home, how could he not be angry? He suddenly stretched out his index finger and pointed it at Li Yunfeng's brow. Li Yunfeng suddenly felt a sharp pain in his mind, and then he recalled his lost memory before. His face changed, and he shouted immediately, "Not good. I'm afraid that Mr. Ling is going to assassinate the Wei princess. Princess Wei." It seems that old Ling still knows what happened in the past. Li Changlin was not surprised to hear the news, and even sighed and asked, "Did he ask about the Cheyenne treasure mirror?" "Exactly." Li Yunfeng nodded, and then reacted and asked in surprise, "Uncle, did you know that old Ling's enemy is the princess?" Li Changlin replied with a smile, "How could your grandfather not find out the origins of the protector he sent to you? From the beginning, your grandfather knew his purpose. Or it can be said that, if your grandfather hadn't cleared up the clues, old Ling would have found out about the princess himself. Your grandfather actually meant well. After all, with old Ling's strength, He would almost certainly die if he tried to assassinate the princess. I didn't expect that after a few years, he still kept thinking about it. This time, he took advantage of the changes in my Li family to induce you to summon the Cheyenne treasure mirror. At this point, Li Changlin sighed again, and then stopped talking about this topic, and said, "Forget it, I will handle this matter, and it won't involve you. You don't need to worry." Li Yunfeng heaved a sigh of relief after hearing his uncle's assurance, and then he remembered the main purpose of his visit this time, and hurriedly took out 2 booklets from the storage bag, and handed them to Li Changlin. "Uncle, this is the work of a master of interpretation named Zhuan Taoist whom I invited. He not only accurately translated the fantasy dream curse spell in my hand, but also translated the Dao text part of the secret records of Kigan and the 12 doors of the Golden Tower and J Chamber yesterday. Although my nephew is dull, I think this is the best translation of this technique at present." Oh. Li Changlin became interested after hearing this. He first opened the book on the practice method of fantasy dream curse, and soon nodded with satisfaction, feeling that this Zhuan Taoist was indeed quite capable, and his level was much higher than that of his own cousin. The Dream Nank curse translated by the cousin has many obscure parts that are difficult to understand, but the version of this Zhuan Taoist is both faithful, fluent, and elegant, which seems to reduce the danger of this spell from the source of the heart demon. When Li Changlin picked up the secret records of Kigan and the 12 doors of the Golden Tower and J Chamber, he stood up suddenly after just a few glances, his eyes full of shock, and he murmured, "The original meaning of the beginning." This passage of Dao characters originally expounded the original meaning of the beginning. In Li Yunfeng's courtyard, Zhao Chen seemed to have sensed something at this time, and silently said to himself, "It seems that a big fish is about to be hooked. It's worth my bait." Chapter 292, Forced Invitation. The reason why Zhao Chen could sense something when Li Changlin read the translation of secret records of Kigan and the 12 doors of the Golden Building and Jade Chamber was that after the Dao characters in this secret book were translated by Xingcha, the Teichu in the so-called Teichu true meaning had somehow pointed to Zhao Chen himself. No, to be more precise, it pointed to the Dairi Xingcha in Zhao Chen's soul. Zhao Chen had already sensed something not long after Li Yunfeng got his translation, and such an important translation, no matter how stupid that young master was, would never show it to outsiders. Therefore, when the sense came again, it must have been personally reviewed by the person in charge of the Li family. Speaking of which, Sister Hangsha's true key also carried the Teichu true meaning, but perhaps because she was now Zhao Chen's property, Zhao Chen would not feel anything. What is the principle behind this? Could it be that Dairi Xingcha and Teichu Daojin are closely related, or even one and the same? So this is a case. Considering that the position he obtained and the practiced skills are indeed very consistent, Zhao Chen can't help but think so. Or, after being collected and translated by the Star Chap, the reason why those skills became harmless is because the source they point to was tampered with by the Star Chap? No. According to the function of the Star Chap, it is likely that it forcibly acquired the shares of its source. It's not difficult to verify. I chose to hide all the parts involving the source of the classics written in the Dao characters that I translated before. Even the Blood Shadow divine art given to the little girl Zhao Royan is the same. Now I can find someone to try those contents. But this may be dangerous. Well, it's still based on voluntary participation. The magical skills are in front of us, and I believe there are still many people willing to try. While thinking in his heart, Zhao Chen watched an ancient monk summoned by him from the Star Chariot put on a transformation cloak and changed into the appearance of Zhuan Taoist, and he himself was completely hidden in the dark under the cover of Tang Mao's 4th grade magical power spirit god body protection spell. Because he could feel that 3 absolute sword immortals Li Changlin had left the blessed land at a very fast speed and rushed to this yard. And with Zhao Chen's disguise, it is impossible to hide from the careful investigation of a top-grade magical power. What's more, with the Li family's emphasis on the magical power of 5 emperors paying homage to the truth, it is easy for Zhuan Taoist to enter the blessed land, but it is difficult to get out. Maybe the Li family will not do things to the extreme. After translating the great magical power, Zhuantan Taoist is likely to be fed with good food, drink and fun, but wanting to leave Cheyenne blessed land, that is a dream. Therefore, after proving his strength, Zhao Chen played this trick before Li Changlin arrived. As for the question of whether the transformation cloak on the ancient monk would also be seen through, it doesn't matter, just see through it. Anyway, no one recognizes him, even if it is deduced. The only absurd result of Tang people can be obtained. In fact, Zhao Chen's guess was correct. After seeing that the translation of Zhuantan Taoist actually contained the Teichu true meaning, Li Changlin immediately made the decision to take this person to Cheyenne blessed land as soon as possible to protect him and never let him leave for life. After all, the other party is the one who can really make the 5 emperors pay homage to the truth. A first-class great supernatural power of the Kunlun Cheyenne lineage reappear in the world. This is an opportunity for the Li family to go further, but it is also the source of disaster, and no news can be leaked. Li Changlin is now very fortunate that his nephew still understands the importance of the matter. There are very few people who really know about this matter. Entering the courtyard, seeing the master Juan eating lunch with 2 beautiful maids serving him, Li Changlin relaxed a little. After adjusting his mood, he went forward and saluted, saying, "Li Changlin greets Master Zhuantan." With his magical powers, it was not difficult to find that the appearance of the person in front of him was disguised by a magic weapon, but he did not expose it. Even if his spiritual sense wanted to penetrate that layer of disguise, it would be easy to see the other person's appearance. So it's the 3 absolute sword immortals in person. I'm honored. When the Taoist Zhuantan heard the visitor introduce himself, he also stood up and returned the greeting. However, all his actions were controlled by Zhao Chen, who was hiding in the dark. Originally, this kind of people exchanged from the Dairi Xingcha could only follow orders like Wang Daowei and Tang Mao, and could not do too delicate work. According to Zhao Chen's original plan, Alan and Left Armor King Yanshan, who were controlled by him, but not completely sold to Xingcha, were to do this. But after getting the Yangxiu crown a few days ago, Zhao Chen temporarily changed his plan. Because he found that, after wearing this imitation of the Yangxiu golden crow crown, he could use the ability to temporarily increase his authority once, and use the connection between the Xingcha Jade Book and the exchanged person, to let his spirit descend on the latter, and manipulate his actions. In other words, the exchanged person, in a sense, has become Zhao Chen's small account. However, he does not have the ability of Fei Meng to do many things at the same time, so he has to wait while taking action. Back to the point, after Li Changlin and Zhuantan Taoist exchanged a few simple polite words, the former immediately issued an invitation. The Li family has important classics that need to be translated by the master. Please follow me to the Cheyenne blessed land. After the matter is completed, there will be a generous reward. Zhuantan Taoist did not refuse, and nodded after a little hesitation and said, "I always hear people say that the blessed land is mysterious, and I also want to know more about it." Although he was determined to tie the man back, Li Changlin was unwilling to break up the relationship if he could avoid using force. After all, the Li family still needed help, but this Taoist Zhuantan was too calm. Maybe he had someone else to rely on. This thought flashed through Li Changlin's mind, and was thrown out of his mind. After all, once he entered the blessed land, he had no control over how many tricks he had. The reason why Song Weiru was able to escape calmly before was that after the Cheyenne blessed land opened its internal formation, the outer loopholes became larger. Secondly, it was because there was an insider, Li Fuchen, the head of the Li family, who provided information to the god of evil. After Li Changlin and Taoist Zhuantan had left for a long time, Zhao Chen, who had been hiding in the dark with Tang Mao, regained his brilliance in his eyes. After Tang Mao confirmed that there was no one following him nearby, Zhao Chen quietly left the Liuan district and found an interstay in the Linte district. At the same time, in Cheyenne blessed land, the entire core of the Li family gathered in the Kinglian Hall, and even Li Fuan, who was in charge of Human, was called back. There were 9 of them in total, all of whom had at least cultivated 4th grade magical powers, and had the possibility of advancing to the Dark Zone level. Chapter 293 Mission. Although the Li family is only a prominent family, its heritage is longer than some aristocratic families. It is rumored that the Li family existed before the Zhao Chen heavenly change in the ancient Tang dynasty. The poet Immortal, whose poems have been passed down for tens of thousands of years and are still famous today, is the ancestor of the Li family. This can be seen from the Blue Lotus Sword Song, a family inherited skill of the Li family before they obtained the 5 emperors, paying homage to the true magical power. Since the Blue Lotus Hall is named after Blue Lotus, it naturally has extraordinary meaning. It is one of the most important meeting places in the family with the highest level of information protection. It cannot be used for meetings that do not involve major decisions of the family. Changlin, why did you call us back and open the Blue Lotus conference? The speaker was a woman with a beautiful and mature appearance, but a slightly rough voice. Her name was Li Fuling, and she was one of the 3 people in the Li family who had cultivated the 5 emperors, paying homage to the true sword magical power. This female cultivator, known as the Phoenix Sword, had never been in the clan before, but was stationed in Yinshan City, an important town in Ganzhou second only to Zhanghai. Her words also attracted the approval of Li Fuan and other 5 supernatural cultivators who were guarding outside. The rest of the people who stayed in the Blessed Land had been informed more or less in advance, and now they just looked at Li Changlin and didn't say anything. Li Changlin didn't keep it a secret. After confirming that all the restrictions of the Kinglian Hall were opened, he distributed the Zhuanten translation of the secret record of Kigan and the 12 doors of the Golden Tower and Jade Chamber that he had copied personally to everyone present. After a few breaths, Li Fuling burst into tears. With such a translation, why didn't I encounter it 10 years earlier? She was firm in her Taoism and straightforward in her temperament. Seeing that she had no chance to have a first-grade supernatural power, she was naturally very sad. She was like this, and the other supernatural powers who had not even cultivated the 5 emperors' true sword were even more uncomfortable, but they were more cunning and knew how to hide, unlike Li Fuling, who cried whenever she wanted. Although Li Fuan, who was sitting next to him, was also amazed at the primordial truth contained in this translation. He had always insisted on making his own way in the Green Lotus Sword Song. The 5 emperors paying homage to the truth supernatural power was at most a reference, so he calmed down first and asked, where did this translation come from? It was written by a master of interpretation invited by Yunfeng. That master has now been arranged by me in the exiled immortal residence. Li Changlin did not take credit for Li Yunfeng's work and answered truthfully. What is the origin of this person? An old man with white hair and a youthful face and elegant demeanor asked. He was the only one of the 9 people with the Ting generation and the oldest. His name was Li Tingsu, and his nickname was Dragon Raw Swordsman. I don't know yet. Li Changlin shook his head and then organized his sentences a little bit. The man first appeared more than a month ago, taking a train from the East China Sea all the way west, and would stay in a big city for 1 or 2 days. But these are just hearsay for the time being. The only thing that is clear is that he stayed in the Biao Mountain Market in Shanzhou for 5 days. Hearsay? Didn't you figure out his identity? Li Fuling wiped her tears and asked in surprise, I remember you cultivated the 5th grade magical power 6 Yao divine machine disc. In fact, the Li family's strongest magical power of calculation is the Kinglian divine calculation, but it's a pity that its cultivation method has long been lost, and only the name is recorded in the Li family's classics. That master seems to have misleading items on him, and the 6 Yao divine machine disc is useless to him. Even the Cheyenne treasure mirror refuses to answer questions about him. Li Changlin paused here, then looked around, and said with a serious expression, this is also the main reason why I initiated the Kinglian conference. Should we let this master contact the original of the 5 emperors paying homage to the truth magical power? After he finishes translating, how should we treat him? In the exiled immortal residence, Zhao Chen, whose spirit descended on the body of Zhuanten Taoist, sat in the exquisite pavilion, tasting fine wine, while appreciating the singing and dancing arranged by the Li family. With his eyesight, he could naturally see that those singers and dancers were not living people, but were transformed by magic, and were essentially paper cutouts. They were real paper people. This was also as it should be. I'm afraid that the Li family would not let Zhuanten Taoist contact any outsiders before discussing how to treat him. Well, except for the two maids in the other courtyard before. They were also taken to the Blessed Land to take care of Zhuan Ten Taoist's daily life. The so-called Blessed Land is created by the true Lord Shengsun. Well, it is usually created by the true Lord of the first realm of Shengsun by intercepting a certain area of Zhuanshan realm. Although the rules of heaven and earth in the Blessed Land are not much different from those of Zhuanshan, there are some biases in certain laws. For example, in this Blessed Land of Xi'an, the laws of water and stars are more prominent. The power of these two types of spells and magical powers will be greatly increased when they are cast here. Of course, this is only secondary. The most important thing is to make it easier for the magical powers and Dangshan cultivators to better understand the relevant laws through comparison with Zhuanshan. After all, only by understanding the heaven and earth better and bringing one's own realm closer to the Tao can it be easier to attract the heaven and earth to grant the talisman. Even a peerless figure like the Taojan of Taixio of the Taoist Immortal sect, even if he has not been granted the talisman, can create something out of nothing and weave out the talisman position that suits him best. I guess the path that Taichu wants to guide people to take when preaching is exactly this. Unfortunately, from the Tang dynasty to the Great Tsar, countless tens of thousands of years have passed, and only Taojan of Taixio has successfully proved the Tao in this way. As thoughts were running through his mind, Zhao Chen suddenly realized that something was spying on him, so he picked up the wine glass and checked it calmly. The ancient monkey possessed had magical powers and was one of the unlucky people who was killed by the Miss Shen family using the strange domain. Although he was not strong, he had cultivated spiritual consciousness. Soon, he found a pair of exaggerated big eyes in the lotus pond under the pavilion. The other party looked at him without any concealment. "Who are you? Why are you spying on me?" Zhao Chen saw this and asked directly. But strangely, Li Yunfeng, who was sitting next to him and enjoying the singing and dancing with him, was unaware of it, as if he had not seen or heard anything. When Zhao Chen asked, the water surface of the lotus pond rippled slightly, and a line of words appeared. "I'm Xi'an Treasure Mirror." Xi'an Treasure Mirror? What is that? Zhao Chen was full of doubts, but he also felt that things were weird. Just as he was about to call for help, he saw that the words that had just appeared on the water surface quickly faded, and then the layers of ripples gathered to form several new lines of handwriting. "In exchange for giving you the answer to the question just now, you have to complete a task. The content of the task is, don't alarm others when talking to me." Chapter 294, Spirit of Blessed Land. Don't alarm others? This strange thing wants to talk to me privately? Zhao Chen has calmed down now, and from the name Xi'an Treasure Mirror, he guessed that it might have some connection with the Li family's blessed land. Fei Meng once said that the Li family's blessed land did not come from their ancestors, but was created by a fallen true lord and occupied by the Li family, so there are many loopholes, and the exercises practiced by the Li family cannot perfectly match the laws of the blessed land. Since it was picked up, it is possible that there are some things left in the blessed land that the Li family cannot fully control. As his thoughts turned, Zhao Chen was not in a hurry to ask Li Yunfeng, who was not far away. After all, that thing gave a task, and if it was not completed, the result might be even more disadvantageous to himself. And I'm just a small trumpet of the spirit. Squinting his eyes, as if attracted by the singing and dancing on the other side of the garden, Zhao Chen leaned forward, actually releasing his small spiritual consciousness, and used it to transmit the message. "What is your relationship with Xi'an Blessed Land?" The water in the river pond rippled, and dots of golden light jumped out, outlining words. "I'm the spirit of Xi'an Blessed Land, created by Xing Zhenjian to help Zhenjian manage this blessed land. However, when Zhenjian fell, Xi'an Blessed Land was also implicated and mostly shattered, causing me to lose most of my authority over the blessed land. The only thing I can still use now is the Xi'an Treasure Mirror, which has the ability to know the past, present, and future. Although the Li family knows of my existence, except for Heavenly Sword Li Zuanheo, who is trapped in the mist of history, and Sea Queen Li Yunxi, who is still on the front line of the East China Sea, the rest of the people don't have a deep understanding of me. They just think that I'm a broken spiritual treasure that can mobilize the power of the blessed land. Even Li Zuanhao and Li Yunzhe don't know that my spiritual intelligence has long been restored. The spirit of the blessed land. The blessed land of the cave has its own consciousness. Does every one of them have it, or is the Cheyenne blessed land special? In addition, why did the spirit of the blessed land take the initiative to find me? Could it be that it wants to use me to drive the Li family away? Zhao Chen's mind was full of thoughts, but he didn't wonder why another Dongsuan real person in the Li family was of the young generation. After all, after experiencing the things in the Wuiao cave heaven, he already knew that beings with such cultivation could be reincarnated, and they would often choose to reincarnate within their own family. At this time, the golden light spots on the surface of the lotus pond moved and changed again, outlining a new content. According to the principle of reciprocity, if you get an answer to a question, you have to complete a task, otherwise you will have to pay a star coin as a price. The current task is, within 3 months, advance to the mana realm. Star coins. This spirit of the blessed land actually knows about star coins. Did it deduce it, or did it come to me because of my relationship with the great sun star raft? By the way, its previous master was named Xing Zhenjian, and my 9th rank position is Xing Transportation Deputy Envoy. Could there be a connection? Zhao Chen remained calm on the surface, but his heart was already in turmoil. You know, this is the first outsider who knows his background. On the contrary, Zhao Chen didn't care about the mission. It would be difficult for others to achieve magic power within 3 months, but it was more than enough for him. Fortunately, this spirit of the blessed land doesn't seem to have any ill will towards me, otherwise the Li family would have come to the main body. Zhao Chen calmed down, thinking quickly in his heart, and once again used his spiritual consciousness to ask tentatively, "Why did you come to me? What is your purpose?" A new sentence burst out on the surface of the lotus pond. These are 2 questions, but I can answer them together. You carry the destiny bestowed by the star god, and are the patron of that great being. As a creation of the star god apostle, I will naturally be closer to and trust you. And the reason why I came to you is to invest in you, and I look forward to getting a large amount of star coins from you in the future to make up for my broken parts. By the way, you can summon me outside the Cheyenne blessed land now, but you need a mirror of at least magic instrument level as a medium. The specific method is as follows. The water surface floated again, reflecting the complex symbols and specific requirements of the ritual. As long as you don't leave the scope of Ganzhou, I can respond. Investment? Sure enough, it sounds like something from the Star Chat series. That Xing Zhenjian is called the Star God Apostle. Could it be that he was once the Shengsuan of the All Stars Association? Moreover, the spiritual dance required for this ceremony seemed a bit unserious. Zhao Chen's mouth twitched. He had long noticed that there was a great connection between the star god and the great sun star raft, so he was not too surprised. He just confirmed his previous guess. However, this thing seemed to be respectful to me, but it had hidden a trick in many places, as if it was inducing me to ask. I don't know if this is its nature, or if it was intentional. While guessing, Zhao Chen also waited for the other party to issue a task. The spirit of the blessed land quickly pieced together the golden words. Since these 2 problems are merged, then according to the principle, I will also issue a merge task. The task content is, record the ceremony of summoning the spirit of Cheyenne blessed land, and hold the summoning ceremony once at any place outside the blessed land within 3 days. In a hotel in Linte district, Zhangai, Zhao Chen, who had been sitting cross-legged at the head of the bed with his eyes closed in meditation, opened his eyes. You want me to hold a ceremony, to summon it within 3 days? The spirit of the blessed land seems to be in a hurry. The previous respect and politeness were all to paralyze me, and it wants to cheat me in the end. But if I don't complete it, can it really take my star coins? After thinking for a moment, Zhao Chen suddenly curled his lips and smiled to himself. It only said that it is outside the blessed land, and only said that it needs a mirror above the level of magic weapon. As he said, the outline of the 9 lights gold seal was outlined in his mind, and the whole person instantly entered the great sun star raft and sat on the 6th dragon throne. He picked up the 8 diagrams bright light mirror with a circle of wheels on the outside, and continued. It didn't say that I can't be inside the great sun star raft, using this 8 diagrams bright light mirror as a medium to summon it. When it really enters the star aft, I have the final say. And if it doesn't dare to come, it means it's breach of contract. As for the violation, I naturally have a way to let it in. Glancing at the 16 gold star Libra sword hovering on the top of the palace, Zhao Chen let his mind return to the small trumpet in the blessed land again. In the Cheyenne blessed land, the Zhuanten Taoist who seemed to be thinking with a wine glass in his hand moved his eyes, and his spiritual consciousness extended again, and he smiled, and said to the spirit of the blessed land, "I'm sorry, I was distracted just now. Well, I want to confirm that, if you hear me calling you outside the blessed land, you will definitely respond, right?" Chapter 295 Confession. Dairi Xingcha, in the magnificent palace hall under the 6th dragon throne. The ritual arrangements for summoning the spirit of the blessed land have been completed. After Zhao Chen checked and confirmed that everything was correct, he casually snapped his fingers. At the same time, Tang Mao, an expressionless and doll-like magical monk, appeared beside him. This was a new function he discovered after the invasion of Yinling Saint Konglin. That is, people who were sold into the Xingcha can appear in this foggy palace hall at no cost. But the range of activities is also limited to this hall. Because the spiritual dance to summon the spirit of the blessed land is too eye-catching and requires someone to watch, Zhao Chen plans to take a shortcut and let Tang Mao dance, and he will be the audience. Soon, accompanied by a series of strange movements, Tang Mao, a woman who looks elegant and noble on the surface, ran all the way in the direction of collapse. Fortunately, I didn't do it myself. Even a beauty like Tang Mao can't handle the moves, so I'll be even more frustrated if I do it. I just wonder if after I redeem Tang Mao in the future and recall this incident, she will directly use the White Tiger 7 stars knife on me. But the star coins required to redeem a supernatural cultivator are too many. Even now I can't afford it. I'm afraid I can only try again after my authority in Xingcha is further improved. Sitting on the throne, Zhao Chen danced a dance with a strange expression on his face, which was even more bizarre than the opening dance of the Little Days Olympics and comparable to a convulsion of a psychopath. Then he recited the summoning spell loudly. The fog is heavy and responds to the universe, and the fragrance is burning through the stargate. The golden palace is opened in the Zhuanten palace, and the Cheyenne treasure mirror is heard. As the sound of the spell echoed, a gust of cold wind suddenly descended into the 8 diagrams bright light mirror, and the demon sealing red pen on the table almost took off at the same time. But this time it did not take action directly, as if waiting for Zhao Chen's order. "Master, spare me. Master, spare me." At this time, lines of text quickly appeared on the surface of the 8 trigrams bright mirror, which was enough to show its anxiety. "Master, I'm the spirit enlightened by Star of a true Lord, and I did not mean to offend you. It actually came. It actually dared to come. It called me master. Did it think I was a star god?" Zhao Chen's heart moved. Sitting in a high position, he naturally entered a state of looking down on everything and being unfathomable. Then he said in a flat tone, "Tell me all your origins and purpose." Replying to the elder master, "I'm the spirit of the blessed land enlightened by Xing's engine." The spirit in the mirror first emphasized its origins again, fearing that it would be killed by Zhao Chen. Then it showed on the mirror, "After the death of Zhenjin, I have been sleeping until the Li family found an entrance to Cheyenne blessed land and injected vitality into the blessed land, and then gradually woke up. During this period, the people of the Li family discovered my existence. They wanted to ask someone to wipe out my spiritual intelligence directly, but because the Li family was not strong at that time, they were worried that the people they invited would occupy the blessed land. Therefore, they could not reach a consensus within the clan, and it was temporarily shelved. After I demonstrated the functions of the Cheyenne treasure mirror and pretended to be not very intelligent and could only mechanically execute the rules, the Li family no longer thought about getting rid of me, but tried their best to use me and restrict me at the same time. They were quite alert at the beginning, but gradually relaxed over time, and now they use the Cheyenne treasure mirror more frequently than in the past few hundred years combined. And I also used it to collect a lot of the luck and saintly aura that I needed. For example, the Li family was able to seize the initiative in Dunhuang and obtain the magical power of 5 emperors paying homage to the truth. which was inseparable from my guidance, and the price they paid was that they deliberately passed on the secret records of Kigan and the 12 doors of the Golden Tower and J Chamber, which was the basic method to benefit all living beings. In addition, the reason why the Heavenly Sword River was opened up by Li Zuanheo's sword was also to carry out my mission. It's a pity that the fun of Zuanheo's naked buttocks opening the sword river has been completely changed because of the Li family's subsequent publicity. The text in the mirror showed here, even without any sound. Zhao Chen felt the other party's strong regret. Naked buttocks opening the sword river? What kind of wicked task is this? Although the result is good, and it has brought a prosperous life to the people of Ganzhou, which is in line with the meaning of holy virtue, if the Li family hadn't worked hard to beautify it, that Li Zuanheo would probably. This blessed land spirit is really not serious. Maybe the unspeakable dance that needs to be performed when summoning it over is not necessary. When Zhao Chen had doubts in his heart, he saw that the 8 diagrams bright light mirror continued to outline lines of text. I discovered your patron in the last month, so I used some tricks to indirectly guide his fate and let him enter the shy and blessed land, so that I could use my contact with him to pay a visit to you, the master. I just didn't expect that he had such a close relationship with you, so I bumped into your Dharma carriage and offended your patron. It spoke sincerely, and if it wasn't for showing a mirror, Zhao Chen even felt that it would hug its thighs and wipe away tears. Found me, and indirectly guided my fate. How could I not know? Zhao Chen was confused, but did not ask directly, but said calmly, I know your principles. Answer a question, and arrange a task, right? I would like to know what you have arranged for me. This was a bit heavy, and the spirit of the blessed land hurriedly explained in the mirror. How dare I really give the master a task? As for the principle, I really can't get around it now. But haven't you completed it, the master? I have completed it. Zhao Chen was stunned, and then he remembered the 2 sentences master, spare my life in the mirror before. That was the task he gave me. So, I didn't directly use the demon sealing red pen to suppress it. I have already completed 2 tasks. This treatment is much better than the previous treatment of Taoist Zuanten, not to mention those unjust creatures of the Li family. You are very smart. Sitting high on the 6th dragon throne, Zhao Chen, with his face hidden in the mist, nodded slightly, and turned to ask, when did you discover my patron? When your patron was competing with others for the trade route. After a line of text, the 8 diagrams bright light mirror directly revealed the scene of Zhao Chen's original competition. It turned out to be at that time. Could it be that I used some tricks that only Xingcha could use on the ring, and it discovered the clues? But I don't remember it. Huh. Wait. The observation angle of this picture seems to come from the expert who was a witness at the time. Fortune goddess Gongfei? I understand. It turns out that the master of my little black cat is you. Chapter 296 Questions and Answers. Is the master whom Gong Yun regards as a god the wicked person who likes to watch the fun in front of him? Well, completing the task and giving rewards are in line with the custom. I originally thought that it was a part of the star chariot that became a spirit, but I didn't expect it to be such a creation related to the star chariot. Now it seems that Gong Yun has been tricked by this thing before. No wonder she can adapt to various situations quickly, even chatting with me naked without being shy. Doing tasks under this thing, I'm afraid her moral integrity has long been lost, right? However, I still have to confirm it. Zhao Chen's thoughts raced, and he looked down at her, as if he had said casually, you are the one who gave Gong Yun the so-called lucky black cat talisman? Upon hearing this, the blessed land spirit in the 8 diagrams bright light mirror quickly presented a text. Master, please forgive me. The so-called lucky black cat was just something I made up. What I gave was actually the most authentic Galaxy Black Tiger talisman. It was you. But what is the Galaxy Black Tiger talisman? And this forgiveness is another mission, right? Zhao Chen nodded secretly, then pretended to lean back and asked casually, tell me about Gong Yun and Gongfei? The master is very observant. He must have seen through Gong Yun and Gongfei's background. No, it should be said that she was originally the incarnation I prepared for myself to walk outside, but because Li Zuanheo discovered some clues, I had to give up and let her go. Through the mission, she collected the necessary luck and saintly aura for me. so she only had basic common sense at first, and no memory at all. Until she obtained the identity of the sisters Gong Yun and Gong Fei through my mission, she gradually grew up and developed self-consciousness. And I gave her the Galaxy Black Tiger Scroll that was left behind in the Blessed Land by Galaxy True Lord after his death without authorization, in order to connect her to the Blessed Land through this scroll and keep her under my control. But now it's a perfect opportunity for her to grow into the mount of your patron, just like Galaxy True Lord was your mount, the Black Tiger. It will also be a good story when it gets out in the future. Is the Xingzhen who opened up the Cheyenne Blessed Land the so-called Xing Black Tiger? Or is he the mount of the Star God? Is this Star God called Zhao Gangming? Wait. The main functions of the Dairi Crossing Chariot all revolve around transactions and notarization, and according to my memories of my previous life, the ancient legends of this life, Zhao Gangming's roots are Sun Essence. In addition, I'm now known as the Zuan-Tan Taoist. Could it be that he really has something to do with that god of wealth? Zhao Chen really wanted to grab the spirit of the Blessed Land and ask a few more questions, but doing so would definitely expose the fact that he is not a star god. Although I can forcibly detain it with the demon sealing red pen, I cannot take ownership of it. After all, although it seems to have no actual power, it is essentially the creation of the Shengzuan Zhenjin, and its level is very high. This can be seen from the fact that it can transmit items to Gong Yun through the air and grant a position. Moreover, since it dares to come to see me, it may not have no backup. After all, although the spirit of the Blessed Land is evil, its intelligence is not low. Once exposed, it will probably guess immediately that the fake star god is Zhao Chen in disguise, which is not good for me. When Zhao Chen was weighing the pros and cons, the 8 diagrams bright light mirror continued to outline new sentences. In the competition for the trade route, Gong Fei applied to me for the permission to upgrade the breaking delusion eye because he could not see through your patron. Therefore, I discovered the trace of your return for the first time. In order to be loyal to you, I interfered with Li Yunfeng's fate, and with the guidance of Gong Yun, I indirectly deflected the fate of your patron, and made him intersect with the Blessed Land. This is the opportunity to enter the Blessed Land through Zhao Chen's clone, communicate with him, and get the opportunity to meet you. You will forgive my presumption, right? Looking at the almost flattering words of the spirit of Blessed Land, Zhao Chen resisted the urge to complain, and thought in his heart, no wonder Li Yunfeng suddenly came to human, to deal with the affairs of his former Yu family. Although it is reasonable, it stands to reason that he, a son of the Li family, does not need to come in person. Especially at that time, his grandfather had not been declared missing, and he had a considerable status in the Li family. And the little black cat took the initiative to find me and become my family's pet, probably because of the secret influence of this thing. Its attainments in the level of fate may be stronger than that of the evil god. If the Li family had its help, they would never have been calculated by Song Wuyuru. Wait, it just said that Li Zuanheo almost discovered its little trick, so it had to let Gong Yun go and became its apostle. So, maybe it also contributed to the matter of Song Wuyuru. You don't need to do too much, just interfere with Li Zuanheo's calculations when facing the scene. It is enough to pit the other party to death. Besides, to meet me? I still believe the first part, but this part is too fake. It probably didn't expect that the star god would personally summon it. Thinking of this, Zhao Chen deliberately glanced at the 8 diagrams bright light mirror, causing the mirror to tremble, and then he said, I forgive your presumptuousness, but you have to make it clear what exactly you want from Zhao Chen. The spirit of the Blessed Land in the 8 diagrams bright light mirror was silent for a few seconds, and then carefully outlined a line of text. I actually just want to use some information to cheat him. No, trade some star coins. You don't know how extravagant he is relying on your favor. He actually used star coins to construct a clone of a magical monk. The aura of star coins emanating from that Zuan-Tan Taoist really makes me jealous. You know, from the smallest dust, to the ordinary flowers and soil, to the largest stars and caves, to the mysterious supernatural powers in the Great Way, everything in this world has a value, and the only thing that can measure the size of these values is the star coins you have stipulated. So star coins can be exchanged for everything in the hands of practitioners in our line. especially the mysterious and intangible things such as fate, destiny, and holiness. As long as there are star coins, they can be exchanged, and I'm in short supply of these things. It turned out that they were trying to cheat star coins. It turned out that star coins are still hard currency in the hands of the star god line. The star god line. Could it be referring to the practitioners who have obtained the star god position? Alas, it is really difficult to ask as a big boss. It would be more appropriate to let Zhao Chen ask in the future. Happy Chinese Valentine's Day to everyone. This is the only chapter tonight. I have something else to do later, so the chapter at night can only be made up tomorrow. Chapter 297. Let me ask. With thoughts running through his mind, Zhao Chen tapped the armrest of the throne with his fingers and said, knowing the answer, it's your turn to give the task. You've completed it. In the 8 diagrams bright light mirror, the answer of the spirit of the blessed land was quickly presented as expected. Please forgive my presumptuousness. It was indeed this. Zhao Chen chuckled, then asked, what information did you originally plan to exchange with Zhao Chen for star coins? The spirit of the blessed land seemed a little hesitant, but under the pressure of the majesty of the great being sitting high on the 6th dragon throne, he quickly replied, reporting to the great master, there are mainly 3 pieces of information. First, it is about the content calculated by Li Zuanhao before entering the Red Gold Mountain. Because I know that your patron has been searching for information in this regard, so I want to get it from him. No, I want to make a fair deal with him. You were trying to extort money from me, weren't you? Zhao Chen complained in his heart, but on the surface he said calmly, waiting for the follow-up content on the mirror. The second is about the outer sect deacon of the flower god sect named France, whom he met on the train. The other party went to Human and wanted to investigate Gong Yun, which was also a threat to him. Of course, Gong Yun is my agent after all, so I have actually sent the magical guards around Li Yunfeng to deal with this matter. If he rushes back in a hurry, he will probably just see a lot of fun. France, the descendant of the eloped daughter of the Li family and the Wizard of the Tower. He is actually the outer sect deacon of the Flower God sect, a magical monk. And the people from the Flower God sect came to investigate Gong Yun, probably because of the task you gave her to spread the news of the birth of the Kyanghua sect. However, Gong Yun is at most a suspect, and the suspicion is not too big, otherwise it would not be an investigation, but a direct arrest. In addition, fun. I can probably guess what kind of task you gave that magical monk. Zhao Chen seriously thought about whether he should go back to Human temporarily. Third, it is about the details of another magical monk Duan Mingsu he met on the train. This formation and puppet master will also arrive in Human soon to investigate the relevant information of Sun Sword Ma Guangming, and it is also very likely to find Gong Yun or find the Golden Art Martial Arts School. Master, I know that you let Zhao Chen go to hone him, but letting him use the accumulated star coins to exchange for information does not violate your principles, right? It is obvious from these words that it wants to make a fortune from me. What's more hateful is that, although this thing lists 1, 2, and 3, there is no specific content at all, and it is not easy to ask directly with my disguised identity of Star God. But I really want to know the information. And the last sentence even has the meaning of forcing me to agree to it to make a fortune from me. Although it is most likely just a task, it is still its good intentions. Looking at the words reflected in the mirror, Zhao Chen's mouth twitched. He is now more than 90% sure that the reason why he and France and Duan Mingsu happened to sit on the same train a few days ago was because of this thing that changed his fate. After all, before selling key information, it would be more urgent to let the buyer get close to it first, right? As his thoughts turned, Zhao Chen said lightly, just trade with him at a normal price. Thank you for your kindness and generosity. The strokes of the words outlined by the spirit of the blessed land were flying, showing its joy. Then, the 8 diagrams bright light mirror began to fluctuate again, and lines of words took shape. Master, please allow me to leave your place, because the magical powers of the Li family are already preparing a ceremony to summon me. If I cannot respond, it will definitely arouse their suspicion, which is also not good for the incarnation of your favored one. Of course, in order for you to forgive my disrespect, I'm willing to offer some of my own knowledge. This attitude is really humble enough. Zhao Chen thought about it and felt that as a star god, he could not ask for too much information, and the Li family really could not reveal the secret, so he nodded slightly and said, yes. As its voice fell, the power that imprisoned the spirit of the blessed land also dissipated. After the other party outlined a simple drawing of prostrating on the surface of the 8 diagrams bright light mirror, the breath disappeared without a trace. Zhao Chen sat quietly for a moment, then glanced at the 16 gold stars Libra sword hanging on the top of the palace, and frowned slightly. When he was talking to the spirit of blessed land just now, he did not hesitate to use the last amplification authority function of the cloud crown on the Libra sword, intending to use it to completely control the spirit of blessed land. But unfortunately, it did not succeed completely, and he only signed a master-servant contract with it without knowing it, and the terms were not too harsh, so the spirit of blessed land behaved so humbly. If it were someone else, it would be almost impossible to sign a contract silently, but the ability of the spirit of blessed land is the same as that of the star chariot. Every time it releases a task and asks Zhao Chen to confirm it, it is actually equivalent to a transaction request. And since it is a transaction, it is very simple to add some hidden terms, so that it can't see it. This is also one of the core abilities of the spirit of 16 gold stars Libra sword. However, Zhao Chen could not fully grasp the other party's actions in such a relationship, so he had to pretend to be a star god, to make him feel awe. Otherwise, a progressive creature would have many hidden means. If it found clues and found a way to circumvent the contract, it would be very likely to be disadvantageous to him. If he was not worried that it had other tricks, he would really want to suppress it directly with the demon sealing red pen. Sighing slightly, Zhao Chen casually opened the jade book and looked through the knowledge left by the spirit of the blessed land as apology. This knowledge is divided into 3 categories in total, and the first category is the application method and ritual requirements for the subsequent positions of the Star River Black Tiger Scroll, but it only reaches the 3rd grade, that is, the true body of the 2nd realm of Dongsun. The second category is Gong Yun's partial ownership, including the related fate and destiny, and even the identity of the master. Seeing these 2 types of knowledge, Zhao Chen's face became strange, and he thought, is the spirit of the blessed land really going to give me the little black cat as a mount? Cheyenne blessed land, in the Kinglian Hall. After summoning the Cheyenne treasure mirror, the Li family monks looked at each other for a few times, and everyone who had used this mirror took a step back. Only Li Fuling, the phoenix sword who had been in charge outside, was confused. She looked at the silent clansmen around her, frowned, and said in a rough voice, how about I ask? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 298, Kung Fu. Regarding her volunteer, both the elegant Li Tingsu, who had white hair and a youthful face, and the charming Li Changlin, who was intimidating without anger, acquiesced. Even the usually gentle Li Fuan kept silent to avoid bringing trouble upon herself. Seeing that no one objected, the straightforward Li Fuling walked straight to the illusory mirror and asked after careful consideration, will it bring disaster to our Li family if the magical power part of Brahma Sound Not Prideful Music Born God chapter is given to Zuanten Taoist for translation? Brahma Sound Not Prideful Music Born God chapter is a part of Taechujia Sheng Xian Sheng Jade chapter, which is the true teaching of Kunlun Xianyang City, and corresponds to the great magical power of 5 emperors paying homage to the truth. Just like Wuxiang Wuji Wuyi Xian Sheng chapter, which corresponds to the great magical power of all underworld coming of Kunlun Kyang, her lineage is also a part of Taechujia Sheng Xian Sheng Jade chapter. From the true key to the supernatural power, the Fanyin Bujaro Leshan Sheng Shenzang can be divided into 5 parts. The secret record of Kigan of the 12 doors of the Golden Tower and Jade Chamber, the secret of immortality of the Purple Household, the 9-turn Tibetan Palace Life Yuan Gong, the true sutra of the 5 Kiss and 100 gods, and the notes on the 5 emperors' supernatural powers. The first 4 of these 5 parts have parts written in Dao characters, and the proportion is gradually increasing. In the notes on the 5 emperors' supernatural powers, except for the notes part, the rest is written in Dao characters. but the 5 parts of the practice are still in a relationship of advancement, and the previous part is the foundation of the latter part. If you cannot rely on the secret record of Kigan and the 12 doors of the Golden Tower and J Chamber to cultivate the 5 immortal spiritual key with the primordial true meaning, you will not be able to complete the transformation of the 5 types of true key in the purple household immortal secret technique stage. If you cannot let the 5 types of true key transform as you wish and gather and disperse as you wish, you will not be able to cultivate the 5 immortal spiritual yuan in the 9 turns of the Tibetan Palace Life Yuan Gong, or the Tibetan Palace Life Yuan Manner. Without these foundations, the 5 emperors paying homage to the truth great supernatural power will naturally be like flowers in the mirror and the moon in the water, visible but not touchable. Although the Li family's successive geniuses have been committed to comprehending the 5 emperors paying homage to the truth supernatural power, integrating the supernatural power with the family sword formula, and successfully pieced together the 3rd grade supernatural power 5 emperors paying homage to the truth sword, but it can't be compared with the 1st grade great supernatural power. Therefore, when the Zhuanten Taoist, the master who could perfectly interpret the secret records of key circulation in the 12 doors of the Golden Tower and J Chamber, appeared, the Li family paid so much attention to it, and did not even think about waiting for the Dongsuan master of the Li family to come back. The blessed land spirit living in the Cheyenne treasure mirror was not surprised at this, and directly wrote 2 words on the mirror: no. All the supernatural powers of the Li family breathed a sigh of relief. Since the interpretation of the text would not bring disaster, they could ask the master of the interpretation of the text for help as soon as possible. With the confirmation of the Cheyenne treasure mirror, it means that the other party has no hidden malice. Just when everyone was happy, the words on the mirror disappeared suddenly, and suddenly emerged again, but replaced with new content. I have answered a question for you. According to the principle of reciprocity, I will issue a task. Seeing this sentence, Li Fuling, the Phoenix Sword, straightened his back and waited with both expectation and trepidation for the treasure mirror task that was said to be extremely difficult to complete. On the high platform in Zhangai City, sing to your heart's content for a day and a night. It must be completed within 7 days. A line of golden words stood out. In the center of Zhangai City, there is a high platform more than 3 meters high. It is the place where the city publicly issues decrees or holds festival activities. Of course, sometimes it is rented for merchandise exhibitions, concerts, and even private speeches. In short, the high platform is adjacent to the 3 large population areas of Lintei District, Shangtai District, and Zhate District. The flow of people in the surrounding area is very large. If someone goes there to sing for a day and a night, it will definitely cause a sensation. If the voice is beautiful. But unfortunately, although Li Fuling has a good appearance and temperament, her voice is very bad, and she is tone deaf. Her singing combined with her true energy can even kill people directly. If she sings for a day and a night like this, Li Fuling will not only become famous in Zhangai, and even in the whole Ganzhou, but the image of the Li family will also be associated with singing to death. Therefore, even Li Fuling, who was straightforward, was completely stunned at this moment. After a long while, he looked at the rest of the tribesmen with resentment inside. You are trying to trick me. Hearing this, everyone else turned their heads away. Only Li Fuan thought for a while and said, Xiaoling, I have a magic weapon that can change my face. Do you have magic weapon that can change your voice? Li Fuling asked directly. Don't think about it, Auntling. A magic weapon that can change your voice can't save you, otherwise the Cheyenne treasure mirror wouldn't give you this task. Li Changlin, who was more experienced in this area, broke her fantasy. At this time, Li Tingzhu, the dragon raw swordsman with the oldest seniority, spoke again. Although the Cheyenne treasure mirror refused to answer questions about the origin of the Zhuanten master, from Xiaoling's attempt just now, asking it indirectly can still give an answer. We might as well ask the master what he wants to get. After all, judging from his actions all the way west, after excluding the possibility of the ritual, he did have the intention to attract our attention or the attention of forces similar to ours. Having said that, he paused, looked around and said, who will come? The others looked at each other, but no one spoke until Li Changlin coughed and said, regarding this issue, I think we can wait until Master Zhuanten really translates the 5 emperors paying homage to the truth. before we talk about it. If he can't translate it, wouldn't it be a waste of time to do the mission? In addition, if that master really wants something, he will definitely take the initiative to ask it, and then we can use the Cheyenne treasure mirror to confirm it. As soon as he finished speaking, Li Fuan was the first to nod and said, "Changlin is right, I second the motion." With the lead of the Green Lotus sword, there was a sudden voice of reconsideration in the Green Lotus hall. Obviously, no one wanted to ask questions to the Cheyenne treasure mirror. Even if their character is actually very good, the mission of the mirror is so unethical that even the real person can't stand it. Seeing that everyone has reached a consensus, Li Tingzu no longer forced it and turned to say seriously, "Then, let's vote. Raise your hands if you agree to give the Brahma sound not arrogant and happy natural divine chapter to the Master Juan for translation." Hearing his words, the hands of the 9 supernatural masters present all raised up. It is unanimously passed. Then, Changlin, go and invite the Zhuan Taoist to the 5 Emperors Pavilion. Yes. Inside the Sun Star Chariot, Zhao Chen was browsing the third type of knowledge left by the spirit of the Blessed Land. It was a practice method, a profound method, that directly pointed to the realm of Dharmakaya. That is, the complete 5 emperors paying homage to the truth that the Li family improved by integrating their own Blue Lotus sword song and 5 emperors paying homage to the truth supernatural powers. It's too late to make up for it today, I'll postpone it to tomorrow. Chapter 299 5 Emperors Pavilion. I gave you the complete 5 emperors paying homage to the true sword art, but didn't give you the 5 emperors paying homage to the true supernatural power. Did the Blessed Land Spirit not know how to do it, or did it guess that the Zhuan Taoist would soon succeed, so it didn't dare to be clever and deceive the Star God? But in any case, the Li family's Dangsha and level skills are also quite valuable. Not only can it be used by Sister Hangsha, but it is also of great reference value to me. Well, since it is so knowledgeable, when I trade intelligence with it, I can be more lenient in terms of star coins. As his thoughts turned, Zhao Chen didn't study the skill that made many supernatural cultivators jealous. First, he was still at a low level and didn't understand many things. Second, the current timing was not right, because he had already felt that Li Changlin was about to arrive at the exiled Immortal residence, where his clone was. Soon, Zhao Chen's spirit left the Star Chariot and returned directly to the Zhuan Taoist, who was still enjoying the singing and dancing. As his hollow eyes regained their spirit, Zhao Chen happened to see Li Changlin walking into the courtyard. He wore loose clothes with big sleeves, thick eyebrows and big eyes, and his black hair was simply tied up and draped behind him. He was really very romantic and suave. I remember Master said that, although the Li family's 5 emperors paying homage to the true sword deviated from the original true meaning and lost the beauty of the Great Way, the people who practiced this method were all handsome men and pretty women, and their personal beauty was fully displayed. Now it seems that it is indeed not bad. Including Li Yunfeng, there is no ugly member of the Li family with more than magic power, and each has his own style. After secretly sighing, Zhao Chen took the initiative to stand up and greet Li Changlin. After a few simple greetings with this Li family supernatural power, the other party went straight to the point. Master Zhuan, let me be frank. My Li family wants to hire you to translate the chapter of the natural god of Sanskrit sounds. Through this period of contact, Li Changlin consciously understood the character of Zhuan Taoist and knew that he was a person who liked to speak directly, so he did not beat around the bush. I'm also very happy to have the honor to witness the original power of the great magical power of 5 emperors paying homage to the truth. Zhao Chen laughed and then changed the subject. However, you should be able to see that the reason why I came to feud with you is also to ask for something. Zhao Chen said this naturally to further dispel the Li family's vigilance. After all, if he did not have a reasonable reason for translating classics for others so hard-workingly, it would be too fake. Let alone for money. With the ability of Zhuan Taoist to interpret texts, how could he lack that little interpretation fee? And the request of Zhuan Taoist was also within the expectations of the Li family's magical powers. So Li Changlin was not at all surprised and said sincerely, I don't know what the master wants, but please speak frankly. As long as my Li family can do it, we will do our best to help you complete it. Zhao Chen smiled and shook his head when he heard it, saying, "There's no need to be so anxious. There won't be only one copy of the Brahma Sound is not arrogant and happy natural God chapter. I'll make a request after I translate the subsequent exercises of the secret record of Kigan and the 12 doors of the Golden Building and Jade Chamber and show my ability. The main reason is that I haven't thought about what to ask for yet." Zhao Chen originally wanted to take the opportunity to ask Li Zuanhao about the relevant matters, but since he could get the answer from the spirit of the blessed land, he didn't have to ask from the Li family, otherwise he would have to make up a set of reasons to explain why he cared about this. And the more he made up, the easier it would be to make mistakes. Li Changlin said hurriedly, "Master, you are too kind. I trust you." Before he finished speaking, Zhao Chen interrupted him and said, "Brother Li, please take me to see the magical power of 5 emperors paying homage to the truth now." Seeing that Zhuan Taoist was determined, and the other magical cultivators of the Li family also meant the same thing, Li Changlin said nothing more and personally led the way for him. "Please come this way." The two left Zexianju and walked through the many magnificent scenes of Cheyenne feudi and finally came to a simple building in the central area. Since Zhao Chen was taken to Zexianju as soon as he entered the feudi, this was the first time he saw the scene in Cheyenne feudi. Roughly estimated, the area of this feudi is the size of Zhanghai City. Not only is the vitality rich, but all kinds of spiritual herbs and crops are also growing very well, and because of the extreme laws of heaven and earth, it can also produce several kinds of star and water evil spirits, which really deserves the name of feudi. It is no wonder that the Li family is not harsh to the independent cultivators and small sects in Ganzhou. After all, they have this treasure pot and the commercial taxes and minerals of several important cities, so they don't care much about some small things. When thinking this in his heart, Zhao Chen had already followed Li Changlin into the ancient building and saw the 3 gold-plated characters 5 Emperors Pavilion engraved on the plaque in the main hall. Behind the main hall is a spacious and bright hall, which leads directly to the roof. Rows of bookshelves are arranged vertically and horizontally, and countless classics and treasure scrolls are shining like stars. These classics were collected by people of the Li family in past generations. There are cultivation methods, spell scrolls, magical secrets, historical travel notes. Every one of them is a treasure that can attract independent cultivators to fight for. Generally speaking, a place like this must have a big name librarian, but why isn't there one here? Zhao Chen was muttering to himself when he heard Li Changlin say, "Originally, there was an elder guarding this place, but something happened to that elder more than 2 months ago, so the 5 Emperors building had been closed before. This time, in order to facilitate the translation of scriptures, we made an exception. The incident 2 months ago, was it the heavenly sword Li Zuanhao who was trapped in the historical fog? So that's it. I said that such an important place couldn't be without a big name." Zhao Chen felt relieved, and then after glancing at the bookshelves, that were several stories high, he nodded slightly and said, "Please prepare a quiet room for me." The books that recorded the magical powers of 5 emperors paying homage to the truth were not allowed to be taken out of the 5 Emperors building, so Taoist Zhuantin had to translate them on the spot. It has already been prepared for the master. Li Changlin was well prepared, and he took Zhao Chen directly through a light gate and entered a luxurious room sealed by a formation. On a desk in the room, there were 4 ancient books. Zhao Chen used the spiritual consciousness of this clone to scan, and immediately found that they were the 4 exercises from the Brahma Sound, is not arrogant and happy to born God chapter from the true key to the evil spirit, the secret record of key exercises of the 12 doors of the Golden Tower and Jade Chamber, the secret of immortality of the Purple Household, the 9-turn Tibetan Palace Life Yuan Gong, and the true scripture of the 5 Kiss and 100 Gods. The most important notes on the 5 Emperors' true divine power was not here. It was obvious that he wanted to wait until Zhuan Taoist successfully translated the previous exercises and confirmed that he could interpret the meaning of Teichu before taking it out. Zhao Chen didn't care about this. After sending Li Changlin away, he went directly into the working state and his spirit left his body. In the big sun star chariot, Zhao Chen, who had easily completed the translation by selling and buying back did not plan to go back so soon to report, but returned his spirit to Zhao Chen's side and decided to take advantage of the translation time to go back to human. After all, the fun that the blessed land spirit mentioned is about to begin. I'm a little busy today, I'm a little late, the next chapter will be around 12 o'clock. Chapter 300 Tankid and Li Wei. Human County, on the street near the Black Cloud Martial Arts School. The painter Li Wei, with a high nose and deep eyes, kept comparing the street view images he drew. Finally, after turning a corner, he found a place that was consistent with the prophecy painting. He was full of excitement. He found the place where the son of prophecy had been. How far away would it be from him? Moreover, the son of prophecy had a distinct appearance, which was completely different from the people of Daksha. I think people nearby should know him. Li Wei thought for a while, and walked into a small tea house on the street. After asking for a pot of the best Key family black tea, he asked the waiter in the store casually, "Who is more informed around here?" The waiter smiled and replied, "If it's a general family matter, I'm more informed here. But the adults are obviously practitioners, so let's go find Lao Tang." Lao Tang? Li Wei took a sip of the tea. Because there was no sugar and milk, he was extremely uncomfortable, but he still forced himself to swallow it. Only then did he feel the taste of the best among all the beauties. That's the Western ghost drinking Gaomo at the table outside. Well, a man with Western appearance. His name is Tankid. He knows a lot about practitioners, and when he was explaining the martial arts competition held at the Black Cloud Martial Arts School last time, he even knew the martial arts of all the powerful masters in the county. You can ask him if you have anything, but his price is not low. The waiter pointed to the man who was drinking tea alone at the table at the door of the store and introduced him. Li Wei looked over and saw a bearded man with Western ancestry. He felt a sense of intimacy in his heart. After taking out a few copper coins to thank the waiter, he left the tea house and sat down on the bench next to the table outside the door. Tankid had already noticed this well-dressed fellow from the West, who had an aristocratic temperament, but he didn't care. He just said lightly, "If you want to inquire about information from me, you have to pay at least 1 yuan, and there is no upper limit. It depends on the specific situation." His expression of only talking about business and not about human feelings made Levy put down the last bit of worry. He took out a painting from his arms, on which was printed a half-length portrait of a young girl with silver hair and red eyes, and a sweet and lovely appearance. "Do you know this girl?" Levy asked. Tankid put down the teacup and glanced at her casually, and his eyes narrowed instantly. He and Moqiu, the owner of the Black Cloud Martial Arts Hall, are old acquaintances. How could he not recognize each other's disciples? Levy obviously also noticed Tankid's abnormality, and he was delighted and asked, "Who is she? Where is she now?" Tankid hesitated for a moment, stretched out a finger and said, "This price. 10 strings? Okay, I'll give it to you." As he said that, Levy was about to take money from the storage bag he carried with him. But Tankid shook his head and said, "No, it's 100 strings. 100 strings? Why don't you rob it?" Levy hand that was about to take the money immediately stopped, and he said in a bad tone. Although he wanted to get news about the girl in the painting, he was not a sucker to be slaughtered. To tell the news about this girl, I need to take a big risk, and I may even offend an important person. Tankid shook his finger, and then said, "I'm at a disadvantage with 100 strings of cash. I gave you a preferential price, because we are both Westerners. Do you want it or not? Involving an important person?" Levy frowned. He stared at Tankid's face and observed it carefully for a long time, but he couldn't tell whether he was lying. After all, finding the son of prophecy is more important. Levy gritted his teeth and took out 100 strings of cash and handed it to Tankid. "The Imperial banknotes? This stuff is not easy to exchange." Tankid muttered, picked up the money, and shone it in the sun, then reluctantly put it in his pocket, and then slowly said, "This girl is Ning Meng, the direct disciple of the Black Cloud Martial Arts Hall Master Moqiu. Master Mo is a famous master around here. Recently, he has opened 4 orifices, and his Black Cloud True Key has also been essentially improved. A few days ago, he even killed a horse bandit who had opened 8 orifices. He became famous. Hearing that the master of the Son of Prophecy and the so-called Master Mo were just a cultivator who practiced orifice refining, Li Wei secretly curled his lips, thinking that the words of such a small figure were really unreliable. When did a person with 4 orifices become a big figure? He was really fooled by him, and 100 strings of coins were wasted. But just as he thought of this, he heard Tanky change the subject and continue. Although Master Mo is a high martial arts master, her backers are actually more powerful. Do you know who that person is? Who? Could it be some magic cultivator? Levy has now lost trust in Tankid, and said with disdain, no, although that person is only refining the orifices, he is an existence that even the cultivators with magical powers cannot afford to offend. Seeing Li Wei sneer, Tankid did not keep him in suspense, and gave the answer directly. The feathered clothes are stained with gold and silver, and they infect the peach and plum blossoms in the world. That's right, the big shot is blood sword young master Zhao Chen. Zhao Chen? The Zhao Chen who charmed the eldest daughter of the Zheng family? Even if he didn't pay much attention to the martial arts of Daxia, Li Wei had still heard of this young hero who had recently become famous in Ganzhou. Although the other party was a martial arts master, and both his gunfighting skills and swordsmanship seemed to have reached a very high level, what made him famous was his ability to make friends. Hongsha Sword, Sakura Dragon Fairy, Broken Delusion Eye, and even an unknown female cultivator with magical powers were said to have had an affair with him. With such connections, the power that Zhao Chen could mobilize would not be inferior to some medium-sized sects. He was indeed a big shot. However, the prophecy, how could Ning Meng and Moqiu be related to Zhao Chen? Li Wei asked puzzledly. Don't you know that the Black Cloud Martial Arts School and the Golden Art Martial Arts School are friendly and jointly operate a trade route, so it is natural for the two sides to have exchanges. And that Mr. Chen is a romantic, and Master Mo and her apprentice are both rare beauties. How could he let them go? Of course, you know. Tankid laughed ambiguously. This? Li Wei frowned even more tightly after hearing this. Although as a Westerner, he was very indifferent to matters between men and women, and did not think it was a big deal for the Son of Prophecy to be someone's lover. But since they were related to Zhao Chen, it would be troublesome to take them away. Aren't Moqiu and Ning Meng master and apprentice? Then Zhao Chen is so careless. Li Wei thought for a long time, but couldn't find a word to describe it, so he had to change his words. Doesn't he want his reputation? Hey, what's the point of master and apprentice? A few days ago, someone even saw the two female heroes Gong Yun and Gong Fei living in Mr. Chen's bedroom together. Tankid said disapprovingly, it seems that we have to think about it for a long time. Li Wei took a deep breath, and was about to leave. By the way, Master Mo and Ning Meng are not inhuman at the moment. They should be out with a caravan. Tankid added, when he saw him leaving. Li Wei paused and nodded. Thank you for letting me know. Looking at his receding back, Tankid narrowed his eyes again, thinking in his heart, this man seems to be determined to get Ning Meng. Even if I bring up Zhao Chen, he can't give up the idea. Moqiu, it seems that you are in big trouble this time. Well, I'd better go to the Golden Art Martial Arts Hall to deliver a message. Although I exaggerated the relationship between Moqiu and Zhao Chen, the latter is a little pervert, and may not be without that intention. Let him fight this guy. It's good. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.